Phones. Good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for August 5th, 2024. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings by nature, and by nature they are informal, which means you are not hampered by the rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly, emphasis on briefly, tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question, but no further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or her representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or her designated representative. If, as the defendant in this case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, such as potentially dangerous, and vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Please call the first case.
If you are a participant in the Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control versus Joan Poole, please use the raise hand function so I can promote you to panelist. When I promote you to panelist, please accept the invitation so that way you can be present before the commission.
Video. What does it say? Okay.
All right, I got you on video and camera, Ms. Poole.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'm just waiting for Officer Frommer. Give me 1 second. So I think she might be having technical difficulties, Jen. Sorry about that. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna swear you under oath. If you could both raise your right hand for me. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Ms. Poole, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Joan Francis Poole, 7836 Outing Avenue, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
And then Officer Frommer, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Officer Frommer, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, 21108.
All right, I will turn it over to our chairman, Ms. Brianza.
Okay, I believe we need to begin with Officer Frommer.
So on July 3rd, 2024, Officer Gum made contact with Anne Arundel County police officers who advised that the mother brought her newborn child home on this day and Anne Arundel County police officers advised that the mother entered the home and set the infant's car seat on the ground to help her older kids make food in the kitchen. Officers then advised that the mother reported seeing Foxy, a 7-year-old unaltered female husky, standing over the now bleeding infant. The infant was flown to shock trauma to Johns Hopkins Hospital, and due to public safety, a bite report, mandatory impound form, and 10-day letters were completed.
I'm sorry, officer, are you still speaking?
Oh no, I'm done speaking right now.
Okay.
So what, can we ask, what occurred once, the letter, I'm sorry, go back. So the incident occurred, you guys are made aware from the police department, correct?
Yes, we received a call from 911 communications.
Okay, so you guys reported straight away from to that situation?
Yeah, yes. And so Officer Gum arrived on scene, and she made contact with the police officers on scene at that time.
And the dog was taken into custody at that time?
Yes, under public safety.
Okay.
And during our investigation, there appeared to be inconsistencies with how the 5-day-old infant was bitten. The original police report stated that the mother, Amanda McClure, did not observe the dog biting the infant, and that she only saw the aftermath and called for medical help.
Okay, so what is the inconsistency? Did that story later change?
Yes. So on July 8th, 2024, Joan Poole, the owner, stated that Foxy smelled the formula on the baby, and that was why Foxy was inclined to bite, because she smelled food. She also stated that the dog will not be around the baby. However, the baby does not have a crib. And on the same day, Amanda sent an email stating that the dog would never hurt anyone, as they consistently have strangers and or people coming into the home, and Foxy would never hurt any of them. She also stated that the reason that the accident happened was because her son was only 4 days old, and that she had yet to be able to have a full bath due to his umbilical cord, and also him being circumcised, so he still had the smell of food and formula on him. On July 9th, 2024, we received a statement from Leanne Bruce, who was in the home with permission from her mother, stating that she went out to the porch to grab her phone, and she saw the dog standing by the car seat where the baby, where there was blood coming from the infant's head. On July 11th, 2024, we received a statement from firefighter Holtzlander, whom he was the first on scene to care for the infant. And according to firefighter Holtzlander, upon unwrapping the cloth, he immediately identified the area at the left head of approximately 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters of skull depression to a depth of 1 centimeter, various lacerations, penetrating punctures noted at the left side of the head, and the presentation of the injury was assessed as life-threatening, with a priority 1 rating, and medevac was assigned. On July 12th, 2024, we received medical records from Johns Hopkins. The medical records stated that the patient / infant required a left craniotomy, repair of a depressed fracture, evacuation of a hematoma, and detriment of the wound after dog bite from a large husky. And the infant also suffered an acute small hemorrhage. And it's also noted in the emergency room notes from the medical records that the mom came into the room and found the family's husky gnawing on Artemis's head, and this finding added to the inconsistencies of how Foxy attacked the infant. On July 16th, 2024, animal control deemed Foxy as vicious due to the severe bite to a 5-day-old infant that required medical care on this day from the repair of the depressed fractured skull, evacuation of a hematoma, and cleaning of the wound. And on the same day, Joan Poole appealed the vicious order to the Animal Matters Commission. And for their evidence, Amanda McClure sent a 2-week post-op picture of her son that shows the puncture wounds from the bite. And she additionally stated that the line of stitches is from where the doctors opened up his head to pop the small skull fracture out. And the only marks from the dog is the 2 small stitches above the line, and that was all the dog did, and she didn't even mean to do that. And from the start of this case, Joan Poole has made no attempt to provide any resolution or change that could have made the keep the infant safe. And the only statement that we received was from her was that she was going to kick her daughter Amanda and the infant son out of the house because it is her fault that the baby was bitten. And Joan Poole states that the dog is her granddaughter's emotional support animal and that they just want the dog back home and that she is not dangerous, and nor did Foxy attack the infant, and Foxy only smelled the food on the baby. And Animal Care and Control believes that the vicious order should be upheld and that this was not a provoked attack and that could have cost the infant his life. While Foxy has not reportedly ever attacked or bitten anyone before, that were either grown children or adults, Foxy did without provocation bite into the skull of a 5-day-old infant simply because Foxy smelled food on the infant, and this allows for us to believe that this will happen again and that the return of the dog will create an unsafe environment for any and all juveniles.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Officer Firmer?
Oh, no, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the officer? All right, Ms. Poole? Ma'am, you're muted. You need to turn your microphone on.
It's on mute. Okay. Can you hear me
There
now?
you go.
Okay.
Yes.
I was not at home. When I left here to go to Pennsylvania to cut the grass for my father, my dog was kenneled. I left. I was up there. I was getting ready to leave my dad's house when I got a phone call that I needed to get home right away, that the dog had bitten the baby. I questioned everybody in the house to what had happened. Nobody's seen it happen. They said that, and it's very possible that the baby had gotten himself into a position because he was not strapped in. She put him, he wasn't even, I mean, they said that they had just brought him home. No, they had not just brought him home. He came home the day before that. And the mother fed him, put him back in the car seat, and then went to the kitchen to feed the kids. The kids had been out in the pool, out back. So she went in to make the kids something to eat, did not close the door in between the porch. It's an inside porch. Did not close the door between the inside porch and the kitchen, which she should have done. The crib had not arrived yet and was due in that next day. Why the baby was left unattended in the car seat on my porch is beyond me. She's never bitten anybody. I'm sorry.
Can I ask, I need some clarification as to
Yes,
like
sir.
the location of how this happened. So you're saying the baby was on the porch. Is this the front porch? Is this the back porch next to
This is the back
what you're
inside.
talking about?
This is a back inside porch.
Back inside porch. So it's like a screened in porch?
It's enclosed.
Okay, and so the baby was there, and the kids were in the pool, and then they came in to eat, and the baby was left unattended on the porch out
Yes,
back.
sir.
And do we
No,
know where
not
the
out back. It's an inside porch.
Oh, I'm sorry, inside porch. Do we know? Can you explain to me where the dog was at all? I know you weren't there, but was it described to you where the dog was? I know you're saying it was supposed to be in the kennel, but wasn't. How did it have access to that porch? Can you kind of describe that situation?
My granddaughter, who the dog was bought for because she is autistic, she is has Javen syndrome, which is a form of epilepsy. She was bought for her 7 years ago, and these two have bonded as best friends. She said she took the dog out, brought the dog back in, and she thought somebody had put the dog back in the kennel. I mean, she's right here if you want to talk to her.
And she need to be sworn in first. That's one thing. But besides that, I just wanted to get a kind of an idea where this incident happened in the home versus, I've been told that the child's been left in a situation outside of the kitchen, apparently where everyone was. I just was trying to get an idea in my head how this could have occurred and where the dog would have come from. Would the dog have been outside and be able to come back in and this would have happened? No one saw the dog. Would the dog have had to walk through the kitchen into the room where the child was? Like, that's what I'm trying to get my head around.
Yes, sir. The dog would have had to walk from the kitchen into the porch. There is a door that closes the kitchen from the porch, which should have been closed. It's a back room is what I'm being told because it's not outside.
I got you. I understand what you're saying.
You mentioned that this dog oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to get
yeah.
clarification on the dog itself. Is this dog a trained therapy dog? I mean, is this dog trained to detect seizures for your granddaughter's epilepsy?
I'm sorry, the dog was never trained physically. We did not find out about my granddaughter's seizures till about 7 years ago. Or I'm sorry, till a few years ago. Because this dog, when she would, with Javen syndrome, it's not a full-blown hit the floor seizure. But they do not realize what's going on. This dog would stay beside her when this was happening and would not leave her if she was home. There was no way to send the dog to school with her. But she, she's on medication. She's lost 6 pounds since they took her dog from her.
You mentioned somebody else is there with you. The person who was there with you, were they actually present when this happened?
The baby's mother is here. Both of my granddaughters are here.
I don't know about the rest of the commission, but I'd certainly find it helpful to hear from someone who was actually there that day.
Okay, you want me to excuse myself? And
you're more than welcome to stay on camera, ma'am.
And if you look at the one picture that Officer Firmer showed, there is I'm sorry, there's a place on there on that same paper where the dog was, where the original, it gives the birth history and stuff. It says superficial scalp and post cuts. It doesn't say that it was a massive deep cut. It says it's superficial. They went in and when you put pressure, this baby is not a full-term baby. It is a 36 in 1 day old baby, which means all of its bones are very brittle at this time. Go down. down. It's not that paper. There, that has the, it is a, page 9. Well, go back up. I'm sorry. It's page 9. That's 7.
Give me 1 second. I gotta pull it up on a separate document.
Okay, yeah, it's page 9. Says a superficial scalp, depressed skull, which, well, like I said, with the baby being a preemie, to put any kind of severe pressure, and my daughter even said she did put a lot of pressure on that baby's skull to stop the bleeding. You're asking for problems. Also, the baby was delivered prematurely. Can you still hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. The baby was delivered prematurely. And it wasn't because of a heart problem, like the doctors had like the John Hopkins had said. It was because of I got it here because I called for the baby's records. Oh, there was not enough blood flow to the cerebral cortex, which is the brain, which is very possible that the blood clot was already there.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jackie. I see you.
Thank you. I have 2 questions, please. One for the family. How is the baby doing?
The baby is doing very well. He's home. He's moving around his crib. No, doesn't seem to be anything wrong. He's eating good.
Good, thank you. And my second question is for animal control, and how is the dog doing in the shelter?
So as far as I know, the dog is fine. It already surpassed the 10-day quarantine at the shelter. The family has visited with the dog. As far as I know, it's fine.
Thank you.
Has the dog shown any aggression with animal control staff members while there?
As far as I know, no. I don't interact with the dog. I've just when the family has come to visit, I'm there present. As far as I know, no signs of aggression.
Miss Poole.
Yes, sir.
Obviously this is extremely emotional, the whole thing. It's got me upset just sitting here listening to it, with what's going on. Obviously, no one wants to, I hear you defending the severity of the injury and things like that, but the reality is we're here because your dog has been deemed vicious. And I know you don't believe that that's the case, right?
He's never bitten anybody, or she, I'm sorry.
I understand. So my point is we're here because there's a vicious order against your dog. And what we need to know here is if your dog were put into a similar situation again, would your dog do something like that again? So understanding that from what we've been told, you've not provided any sort of information to us as to what you could do or what should have been done. A question that comes to mind would be, was the dog and the child ever properly introduced when they came home from the hospital? Things like that. Like, these are things that from a public health perspective, I work for the health department, and I want to know that if we were to not deem this dog vicious, what type of things? I mean, I understand we're talking about you're starting to go down the road of what injuries happened to the child and all these things. These things happened, and we just need to know that if we were to not make this dog, deem this dog vicious, how can we do that without knowing? We need to have something from you that says this is the plan, this is what we're doing. Otherwise, I mean, it's hard for us to look at it any other way. I mean, when you're fighting the other way, I think that's kind of where we need to get to in this conversation is this happened. You don't believe the dog's vicious. How can we go from here?
Sir, I can guarantee that dog will never be left unattended again. I'll get a kennel from when I'm not here. Anything I've got to do to bring my dog home so that my granddaughter is safe and happy. The baby's in a crib. He's kept in a room that has a door to it. Every room in my house has doors to them. so that they're, there's a door that goes from the porch to the kitchen. There's a door that goes from the kitchen to the living room, a door that goes from my hallway to the bathroom, from the hallway to my daughter's bedroom, from the hallway to my bedroom. There's doors throughout this house. The doors can be shut. I'll get a kennel. I used to have one. And then, when my daughter moved back in here, I have a small kennel. But I need, I'll go out and I'll buy something big enough that, she can be happy. And I'll do it today. Nobody asked me what I could do to prevent this any further. I mean, so that it never happens again. Nobody ever asked me that question.
Ma'am,
But
I
I can
saw in the
guarantee-
file that there was a Child Protective Service investigation. Has that investigation been concluded?
That I'm aware of, it has. There was somebody that came out here and, my granddaughter told them that's her best friend. She just wants her dog back.
Miss Branda, if I may interject,
I'm sorry.
CPS is on here as an attendee. I can ask for them
Oh.
to join in if they want to, but from our understanding, that case is not closed.
We don't have any recommendations from CPS to go to
I
guide
can-
us here.
No, because they're waiting on they were wanting the outcome of this, for some holes that were in their investigation. So I just know that it's not closed.
Okay, so CPS is going to make their adjudication based on the outcome of this hearing.
I
that
think
your
it's
understanding?
it's just a part of their investigation. I can promote
Understand.
it.
No.
Understand.
CPS's function in this is to determine whether or not there was abuse or neglect. It's, obviously the dog is a focus, but it's more focused on the parents, the adults present in the home.
Thank you for that clarification.
Jackie? Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you. How many people and the ages live in the house? And are there other dogs or pets in the house as well?
That would be my grandson, who's 10, my granddaughter, who is 14, my daughter, who is 38. They just came to live here. My granddaughter has lived with me since she was 6 months old. I'm 61, and my husband is also 61, but he's been in the hospital, triple bypass. And we almost lost him, but he's doing better. He's been in the hospital since June 4th, I believe, or 5th.
And are there any other pets in the house?
We have Holly, who's been with us. She is a cattle blue heeler mix. She's been with us for 12 years. She's at her end days, but we're going to keep her as long as we can. And we have 2 rabbits.
The other dog was not near the infant at the time the
No,
bite
she was
occurred?
in the kitchen.
I'd still like to hear from somebody who was present that day. You said there's other folks standing there. If you could, somebody who was there and can give us a little bit more context about
Can I add
what
one other?
happened that day?
Can I add one other thing? In the report, it says that she's a black and gray Siberian Husky. She is a black and white Malamute Husky. So their discrepancy is with animal control. And they also, it was something else in there that I disagreed with. And we told them to point out before they even left here that she was a Malamute. She was not a Siberian.
Okay, we appreciate
you.
the clarification. Are the other family members still there with you?
Yes, they are. I'm gonna let you talk to, who wants to go first?
My mother, no.
You were here to witness, you have to go.
No.
Okay, Leanne, go talk to him first.
No, Paige. Stop. Paige Marie. You're on cap, y'all, or on,
You're on video. Let's go. Come on. Amanda, come in here and talk to them real quick. Just talk to them real quick. He's in the bed.
Okay.
No, he's not in the bed. He's in here. I realized she had him.
Yeah.
Let's pay attention to what's going on.
So I'm trying to. You're fine. And eat about
You could raise your right hand for me. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You please state your name and address for the record.
Amanda Deidre McClurg, 7836 Outing Avenue, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Ma'am, can you tell us what you saw that day?
That day, that was the day after I brought my son home. I'm his mother. I had the kids got out of the pool. They came in, they said they were hungry. So I went into the kitchen to fix them something to eat. I wasn't even gone a minute. And the next thing I knew, my niece sat there and said the baby and the dog was in its crate. Like, I didn't get to see any of it happen. All I really
I'm
saw
sorry.
was
You
that
said, okay, so one of the other kids said something to you?
all she said was the baby. I came back out because the kitchen is right next to the enclosed porch that we have. And all I saw was my son still in his carrier where I had left him. And he was silent, not crying, not whining, nothing. All I saw was blood. I picked him up and that's when he started crying.
And the dog was in
And-
the crate at this point?
Yes, the dog was back inside and into the crate, into his
Your,
kennel.
your niece was the one who discovered the situation.
Yes,
And-
all she said was that the baby, and that's when I came out and picked up my son. My son was not crying, screaming, nothing. He had just gotten done eating, so he was back to being asleep. He was only like 4 days old at this time, and they said he was 36. That was 36 weeks and 1 day, but according to calculations I have, I don't even think I was that far along when he was born. But I do know that at the fetal assessment center that I was going to, they said that his heartbeat kept dropping and that there was lack of blood flow to his cerebral cortex. So that's why they took him early, because they were in fear that something was wrong with him. So that's why they took him early from me. But he
Is
is,
the niece who, I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
my son is thriving and he's fine. And there's I feel that I'm the one who applied the pressure to make his stall did what it did, because in my training, I'm a licensed CNA and you apply pressure to anything that is to a wound. So that's what I did, was take my hand and took his receiving blanket that he was in and just applied my hand to his head. So I could have done that damage, and I'm going to have to live with that because I don't know. But there's only three. There was 2 little marks from what the dog did. Literally.
Can you talk to me about, I mean, the dog, the child's 4 days old, you said at the time? What,
Yes.
the
He
day
was
that this
born,
happened.
he was born the 28th of June.
So the day that this happened, how many days had the child been home and in the home?
We had been home for 1 day.
So you had that day, the day that this happened was
No,
the day you
no.
the day prior.
No, the night before is when we got home.
Okay. And was there ever any attempt at all to introduce the dog to the baby? Did the dog ever get a chance to look at the baby before this incident
No.
happened?
No,
not a
I had
single
not
time.
had a chance to, because at this, he's only awake for 10,
No,
15 minutes to eat, and he's back to being asleep.
I get it. And I'm not accusing of anything. I just want to know the situation. You know what I mean? Like, did you know?
I hadn't gotten a chance to
It's
introduce
understandable.
anything to the baby. And the only people that met the baby was literally my family.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Hemmer.
No, the question, I'm just trying to understand the geography a little bit in the household when the incident occurred and shortly after the incident occurred. So it's my understanding from the testimony that I've heard is that the dog was alone in the same room with the infant. The infant was in a car seat, and then something occurred. And then the next thing you know, your niece comes out and says, the dog did something to the baby. You go back into the room and
No,
you
all
find
she said is the baby. All she said to me was the baby.
Okay, okay, we'll take that at face value.
All I know, like he could have rolled over in his car seat or anything because I didn't strap him back in.
That's right.
Got done feeding him. He went back to sleep, so I placed him into his car seat. So this way, he was, instead of placing him on the floor or in a chair, I put him back into a car seat. I did not strap him in, but all I did was place him into it. When I came back out and saw him, he was still in the same exact position as I left.
That's where I'm going. So the niece came out and said,
never swung him, nothing.
Okay, so it's my understanding then the niece came out and said the dog, and then when you go in and you examine the scene, you see the baby still in the car seat where you left him.
Yes.
With blood coming from his head.
Yes.
Where was the dog at that time?
The dog was already back in the house.
Out of the same room where the the infant was?
Back into the kitchen.
Okay.
He was the dog was not back. The dog was not in the same room as the baby. The dog had already left the room. Like as soon as she said the baby, like I came out. The only people that were in this room was literally the baby and me.
I understand.
My niece was in the kitchen because the kitchen is literally right off.
What I'm driving is Okay. And the dog, when the dog went into another room other than the kitchen, what room did the dog go into?
The porch. We use it as, it wasn't outside porch. We have enclosed it many years ago. It is now, we use it as like a living room because of my dad being disabled. So this is their living room. So instead of, because he can't get up and down steps that very well.
No, I understand. And then in relation to this enclosed room that the dog moved into, where is that in relationship to the dog's carrier?
The carrier is in the dining room. The dining room, kitchen, and then there's the enclosed room or porch. It's all
okay. And then where's the dining room in relation to that?
The dining room is part of the kitchen. Like
got it. Okay.
There used to be a wall
between the dining room
and the kitchen, but they've taken that down eons ago and made it into a bigger room.
It's an open space. That's what I'm understanding. Then where is in relationship to where the car seat was, where is the dog's carrier? How many feet away?
It's from the it's like a room and a half away, I want to say, because
about 30 foot.
About 30 feet, because there's the dining room, the kitchen, and then the enclosed porch. Because the dining room and kitchen is now one big room.
31 foot away.
I understand.
Is the niece who discovered the infant, is the niece with you today?
Yes.
Would she be available to tell us what she saw?
Yes, sorry. But my son is fine. There's nothing wrong with him. If you want, I can even show you what he looks. He's fine. He's tiny because he was born premature. But
Ma'am, the issue for us here today isn't whether or not your son will recover from the injuries. It's whether or not the dog is vicious and is likely to inflict these injuries again.
no, the dog's not vicious. We have people that come in and out of this house, all strangers, literally. And the dog has never done anything to anybody.
Can we talk to the niece, please?
Hi. You have to raise your right hand.
You go ahead and raise your right hand for me. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you please tell us your name, ma'am?
Leanne Bruce.
I'm sorry?
Leanne Bruce.
Okay, can you please tell us what you saw that day?
Well, we were just coming in from the pool, from the outdoor pool, and I got dressed and I was coming out to look for my phone. And all I saw was the dog over the baby, and the car seat was on the floor. So there was reaches for the dog. And like what I saw was the dog was sniffing. And there was only blood on his head,
So there was already blood on the dog's, on the baby's head when you came in?
yeah, I didn't get to see that it's a matter of if anyone saw it, which there was not. So
So when you saw this and you came in the room, the dog then exited the room when you came in?
no, as I was exiting the room to go tell the baby's mother, my aunt, the dog followed with me.
Okay, so the dog followed you out and then walked through the kitchen and went into his crate in the dining room on the other side. Her crate, I'm sorry, correct. Her crate in the dining room on the other side of the kitchen, correct? 30 some feet away.
31 feet away.
Correct. Thank you. All right, so I think we have a pretty clear understanding of how, of the situation now. I think we're there now, I think. So the dog you came in, you saw the dog, what you thought was licking the baby. You said looked like licking the baby. I don't know if that was the case or not. Sniffing the baby, I'm sorry. And then, so you then made your aunt aware of what you saw. The dog followed you through the kitchen and went straight to its kennel. And then everything happened after the fact, everything that we've been talking about. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
I just have
Officer
a
Firmer,
question.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sergeant.
Leanne, is this is the dog that I think your grandmother is stating is your dog, right? The
no,
dog.
my
Okay.
my cousin is here too.
Okay, different person.
My
Okay.
cousin's the one who owns that dog.
Okay, and I just want to clarify just 1 second. Did you ever give the dog a command to go to its kennel or anything of that sort?
No, the baby mother did.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm a little confused. I thought the dog was already in the kennel when the baby's mother realized the baby was injured. Did I misunderstand that?
And I told you to lock the door.
No, you told me to put her in the kennel.
Yeah. Gotta clarify it. I had told her, go back on the camera. I told her to lock the kennel. The dog was already back going into the kennel, and I told her to lock it.
Okay.
In follow up to Sergeant Daughter's question, was the dog given a command
No,
to go to the kennel? The dog just walked
No.
on its own to the kennel.
it went on its own. Like it knew that it did something wrong.
Okay. Okay, that's what I was driving at precisely. Thank you.
Like the dog's not stupid. The dog's smart, but like it never even picked my son up. Like it seemed like it bit and then let go because he was never moved. He was in the same exact position I had left him in.
I understand. I understand. Thank you.
Anything else from any of the other commission members? Hearing nothing else, I think we will begin our deliberations.
Wait a minute, hold it. My daughter is here to, my other daughter, I have two daughters, is here to testify for the dog. And also you didn't talk to my granddaughter that it's her dog.
Okay, if you, ma'am, if you would like us to hear from the your other granddaughter, go ahead.
Yeah. Just tell them exactly.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand and keep it up for me. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And just state your name for the record.
Paige Feely.
Hi, Paige. What would you like to tell us about Foxy?
She's never bitten anyone. She's never growled at any person. Like anyone who has came into the house. Like she would like if like someone came into the house, like she would go up to them and like want them to pet her and like basically just play with her, I guess.
I understand from your grandmother that you have some medical conditions. How does Foxy help you with those?
When I'm like mad or like upset, like I go over to her.
Anyone else have any questions for Paige? Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
Really.
Okay. Ms. Poole, if you could still hear me, do you have any other witnesses that you would like to testify?
My other daughter, Paige.
All right.
Get in there, Mom. Go walk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was muted. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Katie Green. I live at 422 Burwood Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. Ready?
What would you like to tell us, ma'am?
I'm the daughter of Joan Poole. I'm a sergeant at a detention center. Though I do not reside with the Poole residents, I'm here regularly, several times a week, if not daily. I have known and observed the family pet, Foxy, since she was first brought home as a puppy 7 years ago. Foxy has never been aggressive towards anyone in the household, to include the occasional strangers. Foxy has always been a high energy dog, being a husky, and as an adult dog has high energy. My sister, Amanda, recently moved back into the family house after becoming pregnant. She showed a lack of good judgment on the day in question. Having given birth to a preemie infant just days ago, she had made no preparations for the expectant baby, which means she did not have a crib to put this baby in, which should have been in a crib instead of car seat. Amanda left the infant on the floor in the car seat unattended while she was in the kitchen to make lunch. As a result, Foxy was left unattended with the infant on the floor. It wasn't until my daughter had come in from the kitchen area that the incident was discovered. Lan is 12 years old and has been around Foxy's entire life and has never been aggressive towards Lan in any way. Even at the point of discovery, Foxy was not displaying aggressive behavior and appeared to not understand. The entire incident could have been avoided if the mother had exercised common sense and not left the infant unattended and left the infant on the floor with pets in the room. Studies show that you do not leave children unattended with dogs or cats, regardless of breed or size, especially infant children. Should Foxy be condemned to die due to negligence of the mother of the infant? And the answer is simply no. Foxy did make a mistake, but Foxy does not deserve to die due to a careless decision of a human. I do hope you find it in your experience and heart to rule in favor of Mrs. Poole. I understand that you guys were asking for what they would do to prevent this from ever happening again, and it's simply never to leave that child unattended, as such the mother did that day, to have him in a proper crib and out of reach of any dog, which should have already been aware of and known for a mother that's 38 years old and has 3 children. So my belief is that Foxy is not aggressive and she's not a vicious dog. It's never been a vicious dog. She was never introduced to an infant and was left unattended with the infant. So, I believe that, would this situation ever happen again? No. This situation would never happen again.
Thank you, ma'am. Any
Thank
commission members have any questions for Ms. Green? Ms. Poole, if you can still hear me, do you have any other witnesses that you would like to testify?
No, ma'am. Everything that I've studied, everything that I've looked at, Huskies are not aggressive dogs. It's not in their, it's just not in them. If this dog was a boxer, a shepherd, a pit bull, or a Rottweiler, I'd say put it down in a heartbeat. But this dog is not an aggressive dog. She's never even barked at anybody. Somebody could come to my door and she'd lick them to death. I mean, if any of you had gone down there to this dog and seen my dog, you'd know she's not aggressive. You'd know she's not violent. But everybody wants to judge this dog based on what somebody else is saying, based on what animal control is saying. I've got another dog that's grieving over the loss of what she considered her puppy. I never bred my dogs. I don't believe in it, and I also do not believe in having them altered, whatever you want to call it, fixed. I don't believe in that. But they were never allowed around male dogs as well. Foxy, we would take out on a leash. Holly, I could go out and guard, she'd come right back. She's that old. But with Foxy, my granddaughter took her out every few hours on her leash into my yard. If we went on vacation, she would, take her out on the leash and she'd jump right on the truck. It's time to go.
Ma'am, do you understand that if this commission were to find that Foxy's not vicious, there would probably be some conditions put in place, and one of them would be that the dog be fixed. Do you understand that?
Why would you? Yeah, I do it. I do it.
Okay, that was my question, whether or not you'd be willing to comply with
If it saves
any conditions
her
placed
life,
by
I'll
the
do it.
commission.
Anything that needs to be done, I'll do it. I can't have my granddaughter without her best friend. She doesn't even have friends in school. This is her best friend. Because she's autistic, because she has Javen syndrome. These kids pick on her. These kids hit her. We had a police report done last year where they beat the hell out of her outside of my yard. This is the only friend that she has, and you want to put her down.
I understand this is very emotional, ma'am. I'm sorry. I know this has been a hard experience for everyone. Unless anyone has any further questions or any additional evidence to present, I suggest we begin our deliberations.
Thank you.
Dr. Hemmer, I'd like to start with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, this is certainly a complicated case to say the least. And I think I can infer from Jennifer's line of questioning that looking at everything, we have to look at this incident in total. We have to look at what happens if we do have the dog destroyed. We have to look at what happens if we don't have the dog destroyed. We have to look at the collateral damage without losing sight that an infant could have died here, which is significant. Trying to put everything together, from what I've heard from everybody, it's my thought that I really don't think Foxy is a particularly vicious dog. I think Tom brought up some very good observations that this dog was thrust into an unknown situation with a new member of the pack without being properly introduced. And the dog responded, I believe, in an appropriate fashion. Certainly, there were other mitigating factors, the baby just being fed, the baby not being in a crib. As we see in all these cases, there's a lot of human lack of good judgment that brings a lot of these cases before us. So with all those considerations and without losing sight of the two things, A, the infant's going to be okay, thank God. And then B, this dog does provide some significant emotional support for a preteen or a teenager. I believe that it would be the appropriate course of action here to downgrade from vicious to dangerous. But because we've had so much human lack of good judgment here, I'm going to be adamant that we keep all the conditions of the dangerous order in place with no mitigation. That'd be my suggestion to the commission on how we address this today.
Thank you, Dr. Hemmer. Tom?
Man, yeah, so I agree pretty much wholeheartedly with Dr. Hemmer. I think actually Miss Green, I believe the sister said it the best. This was a lack of judgment all the way around. I'm sure in their personal lives, this child being born so premature and coming home, there was so much that was not, thought of. In my personal life, I had a dog that was not great with children when we had our first child, and we brought home a blanket and had that dog smell the blanket and really try to do everything we could to make sure that something like this wouldn't happen. And I have a hard time blaming the dog. So I think without going too far down the road, I think that what Dr. Hammer said is pretty much spot on. I think not only do we need to uphold, an entire dangerous order, I think that, there should be some extra, maybe extra significance put on whichever number, where the animal's kept in a cage when anyone under the age of 18 is present, or whatever it is, 14, whatever that number is. But, and maybe even some training, to get this dog, familiar with younger children. But I think that's pretty much where I'm at.
Jackie?
This is really, really hard. Poor Foxy, I agree with everybody. Foxy is a victim of human neglect. We'll never know whether or not this could happen again, what caused Foxy to do this. I have my own suspicions that, she was attracted to the formula, something of that nature. That all being said, though, I'm very concerned that the family does not seem to accept the severity of the circumstances. They seem more concerned about the dog than their child. I would love to see us be able, if we can, to downgrade Foxy's labeling and rehome her to another home, because I don't feel that this home is an appropriate home for her. Based on what I said, that the family just doesn't seem to comprehend the severity of it. And I don't, if we think about the circumstances that we normally put into effect for a dangerous dog, then the dog basically is not going to be able to do its job possibly as the therapy dog for the granddaughter. There's so many kids in and out of there. It just doesn't seem like being able to apply and enforce the normal conditions for a dangerous dog are going to be applicable there. I don't know if we in animal control have the ability to downgrade her and then be able to put her up for adoption. To me, that's the best solution.
Nicole, I see a shake in your head. Go ahead.
Just that I don't think that course of action is in any way possible. Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control is not in the business of adopting out animals with designations such as dangerous. That just wouldn't fly. And honestly, when there's so many wonderful dogs available, who would want to adopt a dog like that with that designation? I agree that Foxy, I don't believe, warrants the vicious designation. Personally, I have observed Foxy in her kennel in Animal Care and Control. She did not bark at me. She did not lunge at me. She did not show me teeth. So, and I've seen plenty of dogs that have exhibited those behaviors. So I definitely would not want to uphold the vicious, but also do agree with Jackie that I don't know that the restrictions placed upon a dangerous dog are going to be viable here, with the amount of in and out children. It's a multi-generational home, and those type of things definitely concern me. But if we're voting, I'm voting against vicious designation.
Thank you, Nicole. Sergeant Daughters?
My apologies. Obviously I don't sit on these commissions as often as you all do. I want to just be clear about what happens to the home if the dog is just downgraded to dangerous dog. What conditions does the owner then have to comply with? Because I think that what we're looking at here is, like Nicole said, that multi-generational home is very significant to the impact about how this dog is going to behave moving forward with this infant. And the mother also living on site now, which is new. Human factors are almost always representative in the dog's behavior. So I want to be clear where I can look at those parameters that the family would have to abide by.
I'm not sure if you're asking, I mean, I could read them to you. I don't know how helpful that would be, but
Tell me where
the
to find
dangerous
them. I
dog
can look
orders,
at them real quick while everyone's talking. Unless it's
the
short list.
dangerous order, I believe, is in our drive. If not, I'm sure Autumn could send it to you.
I'll share it real quick with you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
While Sergeant Daughters is waiting to look over the dangerous order, I guess I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that if it wasn't for the lack of human judgment, that this never would have happened. And so I feel awful for this dog. And of course, obviously, and I don't mean that in any way to lessen what I feel for this infant, because I agree with Jackie that I felt like most of the family members were more concerned about the dog than they were this infant. However, I'm not even entirely convinced that this dog bit the infant in the traditional sense. And what I mean is it sounded to me more like this dog was just kind of checking out a new object that it didn't understand, and kind of like a toddler mouths everything. I mean, dogs often tend to mouth new things as well. Because I think had this dog actually bitten this premature infant in a vicious way, the injury would have been much more severe than it was. I guess what I'm struggling with now, and I agree with both Dr. Hemmer and Tom that I would like to see it downgraded to a dangerous order. But one of the things I'm struggling with is in the dangerous order, it says that the animal would not be taken out of the kennel unless restrained on a 6-foot leash that is clipped with a secure carabiner clip and is under the control of a responsible person 18 years of age or older. Based on that parameter of the order alone, the dog no longer would be able to function as the support animal for the 14-year-old granddaughter, Paige. So my question to the commission members is that something we'd be willing to alter, or are, I know Tom had said he'd want to see all of the provisions of a dangerous order remain in place.
Well, I'd be willing to alter the age since it is the girl's dog, I think, but I wouldn't want to keep it much lower than 14 in this case. But that might be the only thing I would think of changing. I think the other thing is having the animal in a key, I guess the one provision of having the animal in a keyed and locked behind a keyed and locked room or something like that when people under the age of 18 are present. I don't know if that counts with family members, but obviously with the baby, that would be a huge thing. Also, to echo what you had said, I meant to say this before, but like you said, it's hard to even know if this dog did actually bite this child. I mean, something that small making a little noise. I mean, the dog could have mistaken it for a toy or something like that and mouthed at it or just kind of nosed at it to see what was going on. And I mean, it doesn't sound like anybody heard any vicious like attack or anything like that. It just kind of was like this was happened upon. So again, that's another thought as to why I think that this dog is not, vicious per se. But I hear what you're saying. I don't know if we can include just the daughter, because it is her dog and, specific to the order. Like, I don't think we can do that, but I mean, I think we can, but I don't know if that would be upheld as far as who has access to the animal.
Jackie.
Not really clear on exactly who is the legal owner of this dog. It would seem to me at this point that it is the grandmother, Joan, who is claiming ownership of the dog. But then putting it back to the grandchild being her dog, which of course she's not a legal age to own the dog, but so there's still a concern to me about who's taking responsibility for carrying out conditions.
It would have to be Ms. Poole. We did not ask, and maybe we should, but I assume that she owns the home that she lives in, and that is where the dog resides, and she would be the one responsible for making any of the adjustments in the dangerous order. So perhaps maybe we should bring Ms. Poole back just to clarify that she is in fact the homeowner and can make alterations to the home as required.
And Autumn, while we're doing that, if you'd be so kind, can you send to the commission or myself the dangerous orders so we can review those line by line and make sure that any carve outs we're going to make, if we make any carve outs, that we're comfortable with what we're doing and what we can and can't do, if you would, please.
Ms. Poole, I see you here. Can you verify that you own your home there?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you would be able to make, changes?
Sir, I'll do whatever I gotta do to keep that
Right.
keep that dog for that baby.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You should be receiving it here shortly.
Are you putting it on the drive for us? Is that where you're putting it, or?
I shared it directly to your emails.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Dr. Hemmer, is this what you were looking for? It's the order that was already issued. It's not the blank one.
I mean, it's the
You're muted, doctor.
Yes, I just need to see a format. So if we're going to do any modifications here, where you know what we're looking at to do.
Can I ask a question of Ms. Poole?
Yes, ma'am.
So can you describe your backyard and current fence situation?
Oh, I've got the one side of me is I believe about a 6-foot privacy fence. The other back side of me has a chain link fence that belongs to my neighbor. The front, all the way around is a white picket fence, but it's the huge pickets, and we do not let the dog out there to run freely. So it is a totally fenced in yard.
Okay.
Has everyone had sufficient time to review the dangerous order? Any additional comments?
Let's see. Yeah,
Can we
the
make sure that we've closed the session back to just us before we start further commentary?
All right, she's attending now.
Any, Sergeant Daughters, you've reviewed did you have a chance to review the dangerous order?
I have, yes. Go ahead,
Do you
doctor. I
have
didn't
any
cut
additional?
you off.
Oh, okay.
No, I appreciate that. We have to be in the closed session or the session here. I guess as I'm looking at the dangerous order, to Tom's point and Sergeant Daughter's point, I think really the only modification we need to make is in section 2 or item 2, where they have to be in a crate in a keyed locked room inside the owner's residence whenever non-family members or juveniles are at the home to prevent visitors from accidentally releasing the dog. I would probably modify that to include the infant there, Tom. Just basically put something to the effect of I haven't thought about how to word it best, but basically something to the effect that, whenever an infant is there under the age of 5, the dog has to stay confined until that personage leaves. And I think we've got that covered. And I think that would be the only modification that I would make to the dangerous order.
What about number 4, Dr. Hemmer?
Oh, let me get there.
Yes. So my personal view with the fence is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I apologize, Tom, to answer Jennifer's question. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I didn't see that section. I apologize. But what I would do is I would keep it all in place and just put in an exception for the 14-year-old daughter, that she can handle the dog outside of section number 4, that she is not confined by that.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Thank you. While Dr. Hemmer is still thinking, Tom, you wanted to say something?
Well, I was thinking about the fence. She mentioned having a 6-foot privacy fence on one side and a chain link on the back. Is it? I assume that the entirety of the backyard is fenced. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like when we're dealing with a situation that has really nothing to do with the animal escaping, do we need to uphold a 6-foot privacy fence all the way around in this situation, or is the fence as is appropriate? I just feel like in the situation where the dog is not, this isn't an animal that's trying to escape. This isn't something where we've had that type of incident before, and the animals are getting up in age. So I didn't know if that would be worth mentioning, but I'd be fine upholding it either way. I just thought it'd be worth discussing.
I think from her description of the fencing, it's not her fence. These are, except for the one that's in the white picket that's in the front yard, it sounds like the only 2 sides that she mentioned, I believe, the privacy and then the chain link belong to her neighbors, it sounds like.
Okay.
And
Yeah, well, in
she
that case,
didn't
then she'd
talk,
have to install a fence. I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think she mentioned the other side of the backyard. So I think that we would need to uphold fencing for her to put in, because you can't depend on the neighbors to maintain their fencing or even to keep it up.
No, I totally missed that, Jackie. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry about that.
But if we look at the wording on number 3 and take what she said into account, it says when outside unattended. She stated numerous times that the dog is never unattended and the dog is always on a leash when in the backyard. So that may be a moot point.
That's true.
I guess
think
as I'm
also,
looking,
for clarity, they have a pool in the backyard, which it looks like it's an above ground pool if you look up Google Maps. So the fencing that she has in existence runs actually on the immediate road and down both sides of the home. Then there's this 6-foot fence which runs on the back corner, and then the neighbor's chain link fence. So the yard itself is fully fenced.
It is, but yeah, I could, yeah, okay.
Okay,
I
so does
think-
anybody want to take a stab at a motion?
just getting back to section 3, 4 that we talked about. I'm going, and I don't know, but I'm going to. My thought is that the 14-year-old only gets emotional support from the dog when it's in the house. I didn't get the impression that she takes the dog out on a regular basis. So it's my thought that we could probably keep section 4 the way it is and not make it a carve out for the 14-year-old.
Well, she did
And
say, I think she did testify that she did have take the dog out to use the bathroom quite a bit, but I don't know if that would apply as long as it's on her property. I don't know if it matters. If she
yeah,
put a dog on a leash in her backyard, is that different than to put her on a leash and walking down the street?
I believe it is different. And I'm, in my mind, I'm really pushing that we not make too many changes to the dangerous order, because the dangerous order is to ensure public safety, and I'm not convinced this household, their mindset is geared towards taking, better care of this dog or keeping this dog secure. So that's why keeping these things in place, I think, are probably paramount in my mind. And with that said, I'm comfortable making a motion that we downgrade the order on Foxy from vicious to dangerous, and that we keep all tenets of the dangerous order intact, and that if Ms. Poole is unhappy with the tenets of the dangerous order, she can appeal that. And that would be my motion.
The only thing I question
Actually,
that is, did you want to change 2 to include that line about having the dog put away, with children under
Yeah.
5?
Yeah, and thank you, Tom. I withdraw my motion.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Because maybe I'm reading this and not understanding this correctly. In number 4, where it says that the dog shall not be taken out of the home, fenced area, or kennel unless on a leash and under the control of someone 18 years old, does that refer to the indoor kennel crate? I was on, because the reason I was questioning this is, the dog has a crate inside the house, which I was thinking of as a kennel. And I'm thinking, so this 14-year-old can't have the dog like sit at her feet in the living room
The kennel
because
is
it's
referring
outside.
to the kennel's referring to if they can't comply with the fencing, they can get a 10 by 10 kennel in their backyard with anti-digging, etc. And that's what it's referring to as far as taking it in and out of the
Okay.
kennel.
All right, so that does not apply. Okay, that was part of my confusion. But the other, I mean, I agree with Dr. Hemmer that I'd be reluctant to keep wanting to chip away at the order. I question, the grandmother said the 14-year-old was beaten up literally out in the street in front of her house. So that tells me that there's, an inclination to maybe want the dog to be outside with her. I'm not saying change. I'm not saying we should change the order. I'm just sort of thinking out loud that the dog is likely going to be outside with her. So maybe emphasize that when that happens, someone 18 years or older has to be with her. So did you want to try that motion again, Dr. Hemmer?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we downgrade the order on Foxy from vicious to dangerous, and that we maintain all the stipulations of the dangerous order as published by Animal Care and Control, with the stipulation that in section 2 we add verbiage that or family members under 5 years of age. Right after juveniles, I would insert or family members under 5 years of age. And I think that would tighten that up enough so we've got a comfort level that the infant would be protected going forward to at least the age of 5. And if Foxy's 7 or 8 now, we're going to be 12 or 13, and it may be a moot point at that juncture with her age.
I second that motion.
All right, any further discussion? Then we can go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Jackie, are you abstaining?
Yes, I am, and I hate to do that, but I guess just my concerns about what will happen within the household. Just I don't think I can be satisfied with that. I'm really, really concerned about what's going on within the house and if they can and will uphold the dangerous order and the conditions. Sorry.
No,
I
don't be
respect
sorry.
I respect your position, Jackie, and to be honest with you, in my heart, I feel the same way you do. But with the tools we have as a commission before us, I think this is the best that we can come up with. I really don't think the dog should be destroyed.
I
But I've
agree
got some
totally.
but
Yeah.
I've got some significant concerns about how this family is going to handle this matter going forward. And based on what we have to work with, I think that's the best option. So I
Absolutely.
just wanted to clarify my thought process. Not
Thank
to
you.
sway you one way or the other, because I respect where you're coming from, but I want you to know that
Yeah.
that I agree with you. Okay.
I think from our discussion that we're probably all feeling very much the same way. My heart just will not let me vote one way or the other. So
So you
thank
were
you.
abstaining.
So I am abstaining, yes.
Okay. All right. That was a pretty emotional case. Does anybody need a break before we call the next case? All right, then Ms. Cortez, call the next case.
I'd like to just say that I think everybody handled this really well. It was an extremely difficult case.
If you
Thank you,
are
Jackie.
participating in Anne Arundel County Animal Care Control versus Whitney Thomas, please use the raise hand function. And remember to accept when I promote you to panel.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? My camera need to be on. Can you see me?
I was to see who's talking. Okay.
Here we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Give me 1 second. All right, let me make sure everybody's here. All right, so if everyone could raise their right hand for me, and then one at a time, I will have you state your name and address for the record. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you could unmute yourselves and say whether.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Start from, I guess, right to left. Miss Anthony, could you state your full name and address for the record?
Anthony Stone, 763 Heatherstone Loop, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061.
Miss Yadi, could you state your full name and address for the record?
Yes, Yadi Mendoza. My address is 759 Heatherstone Loop, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061.
Miss Thomas, if you could state your full name and address for the record.
Yes, I can. It's Whitney Thomas, 753 Heatherstone Loop.
And then Officer Frommer.
Officer Frommer for 11 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
I will go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Brianza.
All right, who is the officer involved?
Officer
Officer Frommer?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to begin?
Yes, I can.
Wait, before you begin, do we have counsel with us?
Yes, good morning. Lee Kaplan, Your Honor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, and it's not your honor. I'm just the chair of the commission, but I appreciate it.
I represent
Mr. Who do you represent?
Mr. Bastone and Miss Mendoza.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Officer Frommer.
Okay. So on July 12th, 2024, Officer Adams arrived at 763 Heatherstone Loop, Glen Burnie, Maryland, in regards to assisting fire and police with a dog bite and possible animal attack. Furthermore, a bite report was taken for Anthony Bastone and Yadira Mendoza. In addition, Creed, a 6-year-old tan and white altered male American Bulldog type breed of dog, was impounded under public safety. And on July 12th, 2024, victim Anthony Bastone emailed a statement along with photos of his injuries. Mr. Bastone, in his email, advised that he ran out of his residence to assist his neighbor who was being attacked by the dog, and the dog caused 2 deep puncture wounds in his arm. On July 15th, 2024, victim Yadira Mendoza emailed me a statement along with photos of her injuries and ring camera footage. Miss Mendoza, in her email, advised that she witnessed the dog push the door open at 753 Heatherstone Loop. Miss Mendoza went on to mention that the dog immediately started attacking and bit multiple times, with the severity of the bite being in the ankle. In addition, I was able to obtain medical records from Baltimore Washington Medical Center to show the severity of the injuries. And also, Miss Mendoza's dog was not injured in the altercation. I also received an email statement from Creed's owner, Whitney Thomas, on July 15th, 2024. And Miss Thomas, who wrote the email on behalf of her juvenile daughter, due to Miss Thomas not being home, advised that her daughter Reagan and her older sister didn't secure the front door after ordering DoorDash. After a review of the photos, medical records, and ring camera footage, a dangerous order was issued on July 18, 2024, and the owner, Whitney Thomas, is appealing number 11, which states that the owner of an animal deemed dangerous shall send notice to all persons residing within 175 feet of the property where the dangerous animal is maintained. And it also goes on to say that if applicable, the president of any community or homeowners association of the subdivision in which the animal is maintained. And Whitney Thomas is appealing that section of the order due to her job, and feels that the requirement poses a safety risk, not only for herself, but for her family, and she submitted the appeal form. I emailed Whitney Thomas the county code, which is 124406, subsection C, dangerous animals registry, subsection notice, which states that the owner of an animal with a dangerous animal order shall send notice to all persons residing within 175 feet of a property where a dangerous animal is maintained, and if applicable, the president of any community or homeowners association of the subdivision in which the animal is maintained. Animal Care and Control is wanting the dangerous order to be upheld due to the severity of Miss Mendoza's injuries. The victim was in the hospital from July 12th, 2024 to July 14th, 2024. And in the medical records, it's noted that the patient was presenting for multiple dog bites. The patient handed her dog to a neighbor, but got knocked to the ground by the bulldog and kept getting attacked and bit most severely at the right interior ankle. Most severe deep laceration at the right ankle.
I have the two videos that she referenced. If you would like me to go ahead and play those for you.
Well, let me ask there's only one section of this dangerous order that's being appealed.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I hearing that? It's the notice requirement. Ms. Thomas, you're good with all of the other provisions?
Yes, I spoke to Ms. Farmer on the 15th when she initially advised a potential dangerous order was going to be in place. After that, she emailed me on the 18th. We discussed a potential dangerous order. After that, she emailed me saying, well, she just received the victim's pictures. She actually said on the 15th, her investigation was concluded. Then on the 18th, after speaking with her supervisor, she was ordering a dangerous order because she received the victim's pictures. Well, I was a little baffled because if your investigation was concluded on the 15th, how was it on the 18th that you just reviewing?
Okay, wait, let me just stop you because I don't want to I want the hearing to flow properly. All I need to know is, are you appealing the entirety of the order or just that section?
Just that section.
Just the one clause. Okay,
Just
so
the
even
one
if it's a
clause.
dangerous order and not a potentially dangerous, correct?
Just the one clause.
Okay, so let me ask the commission members, do you feel you need to see the video in order to make the determination on the notice provision?
I do not.
I agree with Tom. I don't think I need to see that if all we're going to discuss is the notification clause.
Me neither.
Okay, then Ms. Thomas, since this is your appeal, why don't you tell us why you do not think the notice clause is appropriate?
I'm a federal officer. I served in Arundel County for 11 years. I have had to make difficult decisions with my job, and it poses a safety threat to me and my family. I'm an officer of the court, was for Anne Arundel County, now for federal. There's a lot of renters in this neighborhood. There's a lot of inconsistencies with the people that live in this neighborhood. And also, after further investigation pertaining to the letter that Ms. Former indicated that she needed me to hand out to neighbors, surrounding neighbors. I have a witness here that will be willing to stipulate and testify that on July 20th, we pulled 3 dangerous orders from the Anne Arundel County Animal Registry website. We made contact with 3 different owners. We provided them with the letter that I was being asked to hand out to my neighbors. We spoke to a neighbor that reside in Severn, who indicated that she has never seen that letter. She lived in that community before the owner of the dog and was aware of the dog's attack. And she also told us that she remembered the day that animal control came out. We spoke to another owner that lived in Pasadena, who also indicated she was not required to hand out that particular letter. And also her dog was almost shot by the police because her dog would not surrender another dog. She also indicated she was not aware that her dog was on the registry. In addition to that, we spoke to another owner that lives on Heatherstone Way in my community. I have videos also that will show that that dog was actually at large on Saturday and the owner was not present. Animal control required me to put signs in my windows, which I stipulated to Ms. Former that I would. I even sent her a copy of the sign, the fence, and every other requirement for her approval. we noticed that none of these owners had those signs in their windows, and I will produce evidence that support that. So as though Ms. Former is requesting this, I'm just trying to understand that if this is a requirement, why now is it being enforced for me? And I'm just asking that due to my safety concerns, that I'm not being held to provide those letters. I was more than willing to do everything else. She approved it. I will have text messages that shows. I sent her the sign. I sent her my fence. I sent her the baby gate, which she initially approved for a potential dangerous order when she told me her investigation was completed. So I'm just asking that if the dangerous order is going to be upheld, I'm okay with that, but I'm just not able to put those signs out due to the nature of my profession. The letters, sorry about that, the letters.
Well, Ms. Thomas, I appreciate what you're saying and I understand what you're saying. And this commission's role is to just determine, do we or don't we uphold the order in its entirety based on what's published? We're not an enforcement arm of Anne Arundel County. So if there's an inconsistency in an application of the orders, that doesn't fall to the commission, that falls to animal control or other litigation within the police department. So if we uphold the order today, you need to understand that's all we're tasked to do is do we or don't we uphold this order? And I understand what you're saying. I appreciate the prejudice that you're bringing up in terms of application of the code, but that's beyond the scope of what we do. So I want you to understand that going forward in terms of what we can and can't do.
I understand.
Thank you.
Mr. Kaplan, you represent Ms. Thomas, correct?
No, I represent Ms. Mendoza, the victim, and Mr. Bastone, the other victim.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
And my understanding is that
Jackie,
I'm sorry. My understanding is that Ms. Thomas consents to all aspects of the dangerous order, not the potentially dangerous order, but the dangerous order, with the exception of some of the notification requirement, which she just spoke about.
Yes, that's my understanding as well. Jackie, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. I have a question for Ms. Thomas. And again, I appreciate, Ms. Thomas, the efforts that you've already made to take care of the order. But I just wonder how you feel complying with the order to do the lettering and the notification would be dangerous to your family.
And the community is not all owners, it's renters. So I don't know who lives next door to me. I could, if we had enough time, produce evidence that show that I've had to attend numerous court hearings, make difficult decisions regarding individual jail times. That letter lets people know that they can pull up my personal information, access my home information. I'm not sure if you all are aware, but we just lost an officer a few months ago due to an offender murdering him. So that's still triggering for me. Although I have no issue complying with public safety, I'm just not willing to jeopardize my own personal security for me and my family.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a question for Ms. Thomas. So if you would please, your concern is about notification of residents within 175 feet of your home, but you're okay with your information going on the dangerous dog registry.
So I know it might sound a little contradicting, but nobody knows about that. I don't agree with that either. But like you said, that's outside of this scope. That's something I would have to deal with between, the police department, animal control, civil matters. And honestly, after speaking with other people on the registry, no one had any knowledge of the dog registry. And they weren't okay with that either, but that's another situation. I have investigators that come out to speak with my neighbors. And I do feel that that can be a form of defamation of character, and they can use that against me. When I spoke to Ms. Farmer, she did say this was a civil matter between the victims and me. I mean, the victims. But Creed bit the victim, allegedly, or a situation happened with Creed and the victim. It wasn't intentional, and that can create other speculations. I have no issue to prevent this from ever happening. Creed has lived in this community for 6 years. I had Creed since he was 5 months. Creed has been boarded. My daughters are cheerleaders. They're very active. He's been boarded for 3 years at Country Critters. She has never had any issues. Officer Former asked for shot records. His shot records was up to date. He has no issues. He's never been labeled aggressive by any other professionals. I went to go see Creed on July 19th. Creed was not in his kennel. I asked Ms. Former, where's Creed? She stated,
I'm going to stop you right here because what you're talking about now has very little to do with the notice requirement, and I don't want to get too far afield. What exact, Autumn, can you send us a copy of what this notice, the required notice says? Because I don't think I've ever actually read the notice itself.
Well, I have it if you need me to read it.
The notice, like what she needs to send to her neighbors?
Yes, it says here that a copy of a suitable notice has been provided for your convenience on the sample order I have, but I don't think I've ever seen.
Ms. Thomas said she had her copy there and was willing to read it. Can we just do that?
Or I can share my screen. I have it via email. Give me 1 second.
I'm fine, Ms. Thomas, if you want to share your screen, that would be great. Thank you.
1 second.
I just want to get clarification. Dr. Hemmer had asked a yes or no question, and I don't know that I got confirmation of the response from Ms. Thomas. I know she spoke for a while, but I don't know that she ever confirmed her consent.
That was my safety concerns. I disclosed my safety concerns. I'm an officer of the court. I make tough decisions for Anne Arundel County and federal. That was my safety concerns, and I just didn't want people to be accessible to me and my children.
I understand. Dr. Hemmer's question was just the consent to the remaining portions of the dangerous order, and
I stipulated on that. I consent to all of it except what's listed on my order is number 11.
Autumn, do you need to give Ms. Thomas permission to share her screen?
Okay. You should be able to share your screen now, Ms. Thomas.
Did you hear her, Ms. Thomas?
Sorry, I actually gave it to one of the owners that we spoke with, and I thought I had it in my email, but I'm not seeing it.
Officer Farmer, do you have a copy of it?
I have a question. Looking at the order, number 11 reads, the owner of an animal deemed dangerous shall send notice to all persons residing within 175 feet of property where dangerous animal is maintained, and if applicable, present, we read that part. It says a copy of a suitable notice has been provided for your convenience. Is the notice provided by animal control mandatory to be the notice that is sent out, or what is considered to be suitable in this case? In other words, if Ms. Thomas, I don't know exactly what is in until we see this. I haven't seen one in a while. I don't remember exactly what's in this notice, but if you can literally send a notice to everyone within 175 feet that says, I have a dog at my property that's dangerous, not include your name necessarily, but have the address of the property listed with the dog, is that, I mean, where does that cross your line? That's what I'd like to hear is kind of how is that, if just telling someone that you have a dangerous dog at your property and list the address on which the property, the dog is that suitable for animal control? Like I said, I don't know what is considered suitable per se, but is there a way to do this without disclosing your name or identification?
That was my question, and that's why I wanted to see the notice, because there's a way to protect Ms. Thomas's personal information other than her address, while still alerting the public to a potential danger. I don't see why we couldn't make that compromise.
Well,
And
I
I'm not
remember
seeing anything.
I recall the notice. I recall the notices giving them permission to have access to go and request my personal information. It did say that on that notice. It said that they have the right to request any information pertaining to my household.
I can read the entirety of
central records on the case itself.
If it would help, I can read the entirety of section 11. It's one paragraph.
Yeah, so
go right ahead, sir.
Well, I think we're pretty straight on what section 11 is. We've read it now, I think, multiple times. I think, like, again, a copy of a suitable notice, that's the question I have, is if animal control does provide a notice for people who probably cannot create one of their own, but if a suitable notice is a dangerous dog is living at this address, then and it's literally kept that simple, is that considered suitable enough? I mean, the idea of this letter would be to let people know who are walking around your neighborhood to maybe pay a little more attention when they walk by your front door in case one of the stipulations that's in the order was not being maintained. Let's say the secondary barrier was not being maintained. The DoorDash guy came, you were away, your child left the secondary barrier open and the door's ajar, and someone now knows, hey, I got to be a little more careful to walk by that door. That's the intent of the letter. So I'm saying, like, is there a minimum, like, if that's suitable enough? I mean, I don't know that it is. I'm just saying.
Well, animal control letter was not suitable. They specifically said that people will have public access to my records.
Well, let me, Tom, first of all, in the scenario you described, I think that's covered by number 12, because Ms. Thomas is still required to post on the premises visibly that there's a dangerous dog there. So that should be enough to alert a DoorDash driver.
Well, I'm not saying DoorDash driver. I'm saying someone who lives in the neighborhood who may have their child walk by the house or whatever. They just know that, as a matter of fact, hey, when you go over this side of the neighborhood, that's I'm assuming that's why this was ever put in the law in the first place.
Well, I was just thinking, I have a sign on my fence, and then if I told Miss Former I was more than willing to put a sign at the door. The way the houses are adjusted, if you can see it, I don't know if you want me to put it in the front yard that says dangerous dog, that would be applicable. If I have the sign there, I feel like it's a lot.
Well, in reading the code, in 124406C, it pretty much mirrors what section 11 of the order says, that the owner of an animal with a dangerous animal order shall send a notice to all persons residing within 175 feet of a property where a dangerous animal is maintained, and if applicable, the president of any community or homeowners association. There's nothing in the statute that requires Ms. Thomas be named. So I'm inclined to go with a strict reading of the statute. And unless somebody can point me to another section of the code that requires that her identity be revealed in the notice. I understand the registry is a different issue and we can't touch that. But I think we can still comply with provision 11 and put some of Ms. Thomas's concerns to rest. Does anyone disagree with my reading of the statute?
No, that's exactly the way I read it, Jennifer. It just has to be, it's kind of like a stop sign. You know, you got to stop here. You don't need to know why the stop sign's there. You just have to stop there. Just letting the public know there's a dangerous animal in this residence. That's it. That's all we have to do. We don't need name. We don't need anything. We just need to let everybody know that there's a dangerous animal at this physical location in Anne Arundel County. That's the way I read it.
Mr. Kaplan, would your clients have any opposition to that?
As to mailing out a notice in the context in which you explained, that's fine. All that I would ask is that the complete order, the dangerous order, Will a copy of that be provided to Ms. Mendoza and Mr. Bastone?
That's a question for Autumn, and I'm pretty sure they would.
It would be a central records request, which
I'm sorry, I cannot hear.
that would be a central records request, which is what you already did, and I believe was sent to you.
I have the order. Does it change following today's hearing?
No, it wouldn't if they go into deliberations and just go by what the statute says.
And if you could just give them guidance to Ms. Mendoza and Mr. Bastone as to whom they notify, or how do they handle a situation where they realize a provision of that order is not being complied with. I think their concern is that obviously there's children in the neighborhood that walk their dogs, and there's people who are close-knit in these communities, and they want to know what to do in the event that there's a violation of the order to get it remedied.
They would report it directly to us, and since they've already been communicating with the public safety office, that's who they would report it to.
Perfect.
Okay, I have one more question. Just as a practical matter, do we even need to amend? I mean, it seems to me like we basically just had a clarification discussion, and we don't have to touch this order as is, because the order as is does not require Ms. Thomas to be named in the notice. Am I
Agreed.
misunderstanding?
No,
That's how I understand it.
Is there any reason why we would have to add something to the order to clarify that? I mean, I guess what I don't want to see happen later on is that Ms. Thomas sends out a notice, doesn't identify herself, and then somebody complains that she violated number 11 because she didn't. And she's obviously would be basing that on our discussion here today. So I just want to make sure, I don't know, is documenting it in the minutes sufficient? Do we actually need to add a statement in the order?
I think that you would have to go into deliberations and actually vote on it, because it is straying away from what we've done for all the other orders. And when they've used the template that we provided them for as a courtesy, that means that they actually put their names on the letter when they sent it out to their neighbors. So it'd be different.
I think that's why we wanted to see the template, but we haven't been able to come up with a copy here today. Okay, I think that we have the answers we need. Unless anyone else has anything else, I'm open to going into deliberations. Does other commission members agree?
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you to everyone that showed up today. Mr. Kaplan, please thank your clients for coming today. I appreciate your time. We're going to close the meeting now for our deliberations.
I have the template right here in front of me if you want.
Yeah, let's see that for our deliberations.
Okay.
And can I just add one thing? We do email the public safety packet, which does include the letter that Autumn is going to share with you as an example.
Email it to whom?
We email it to owners that we are issuing orders for.
Oh, okay. But you don't email it out to the community, correct?
No. The letter that she's going to show you is a rough example that the owner can type up and use as a template to send to the owners.
Gotcha. Thank you.
To the neighbors.
I guess, Jennifer, if animal control decides they want to go above and beyond what's in the code, which is the minimum notification, that's on animal control. That's not on us. In terms of upholding this, is the way I'm reading it. Just because animal control wants the notification to include name, address, social security number, whatever other identifiers they want to add, that's above and beyond what the code calls for. So my comment is that that's a moot point for us, and that's between animal control and Ms. Thomas, because they're requiring her to do more than the code minimally requires. So that takes us out of the loop altogether, is my understanding. Am I missing something?
And that was my question initially. if we needed to alter it. I guess what I don't want to do is set Ms. Thomas up, to have issues in the future. Because
Well, she is, and she will, because animal control is going to want her to put her name, address, phone number, email, whatever identifiers they want. And I think that she has a defensible position by saying, no, the code just says, I just got to make notice that there's an animal at this geographic location. That's it. And that's beyond the scope of what we need to do. So I think you have a good point. And I think Ms. Thomas has a legitimate position, but that really doesn't impact us as I'm reading it.
Jackie?
Yeah, my question is for Autumn and Officer Fromer. Are you asking Ms. Thomas to provide additional information in her letter, being her personal information, that is different and beyond what the standard request is?
So the template is sent as a courtesy. They don't have to use it. But on the template, it does have at the very top where you can put the name, address, city, and state. And then it goes on to explain that there's a dangerous animal. And then it does say if you would like to receive a copy of the stipulations I must comply with, you can get a records request from the police department, which is what I was trying to clarify. Is it's not a personnel, it pulls on the order what all she has to comply. They can only request the order.
Okay.
But that's what this courtesy template establishes.
Okay, so is it possible for you to clarify for Ms. Thomas that she does not have to provide her name? Obviously, the address needs to be provided. But can you clarify for her that she doesn't need to provide any more personal information in that letter?
Yeah, so yeah, the thing is, I was getting more information. If they do that central records request, they will get her name and the address. Just
Agreed. But I'm not even seeing in the statute, according to the statute, the only thing required legally in that notice is the address of where a dangerous animal is maintained. They're not required to say, if you want to go get this order, you look at the registry, and if you want XYZ to go to, the only thing the law requires is what's in 12-406C. Tom, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, I think that we have to look at this as she's basically asked to strike 11 from the dangerous order. I don't believe we can do that because it's in the statute. So we can't strike it anyways. Correct. So we're here for that reason. And again, because the statute is not specific to what needs to be included in the notice, that would end up being between her and animal control after the fact if animal control wanted to try to push an issue or vice versa. I feel like we just need here today to vote to either uphold it as included or to strike 11. I don't believe we can strike 11 because it's in the statute. So I think it's just kind of, we're going in circles here. I agree, Jackie, that it would be nice if animal control didn't, and I don't think most people, I don't think it really matters to most people. In this case, it does matter to Ms. Thomas, but I think that it is nice that they do provide a template. That it includes your name in the template is not a big deal for most people, but I think that in this case it is, but it doesn't seem required. So I think that basically we should just uphold. I would move that we uphold the order in its entirety is what my motion would be if we were to go that road.
And I would second that motion, Tom, because I think that hits our whole discussion in a nutshell here, and we're all saying the same thing, and it's beyond the scope of what we're tasked here to do today, to be honest with you. So I second your motion, Tom.
I'll have the ACOs clarify with Ms. Thomas on the notification letter.
Thank you, Autumn.
All those in favor? All right, seeing none opposed, closes that out. It's 11 o'clock. Anybody need a break before the next case? All right, let's keep rolling.
All right. Participants. If you are a participant in the case of Helk versus Bostick, please use the raise hand function. We have
Oh, there I am. Sorry. Good morning.
morning. Give me 1 second. See if that's unmute. Jeff, if you're able to start your camera and unmute yourself. All right. All right. If you both could raise your right hand for me. Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Bosick, if you could state your full name and address for the record.
Kelly Christine Bostick, 1617 Revel Downs Drive, Annapolis, 21409.
And then Mr. Fleek?
Pelkey, Jeff Pelkey, 1613 Revel Downs Drive, Annapolis, 21409.
I will turn it over to you, Ms. Brinza.
All right. It is Miss Bostick. No, I'm sorry. The complainant, Mr. Pelkey. Would you like to start, sir?
I would. First of all, just to let you know, Kelly and I are in a peace order. I want to make sure that none of this affects the laws of a peace order.
No, you two both appearing for a legal hearing would not violate the peace order. Who is the respondent in the peace order? Who is it against?
Originally, after the dog incident, she put one out on me. And the court date we went to expired that day. The judge asked Kelly if she was good with ending that. I said, or she said yes. I said no. So the judge gave another 6 months to that per my request.
Okay, but your appearance here today, you are not contacting her in an unlawful manner, so it would not violate that order. We can go ahead and proceed. Go
All right,
ahead.
good. Okay, now this is the third time I've had to deal with animal control court with her and her dog. Third time. And according to Animal Control Law, Article 12, Section 4-904, animal disturbance prohibited. Anyone who owns, keeps, or has possession of an animal shall not permit the animal to disturb the quiet of a person or neighborhood. So, once again, I am here to bring this up. Now, I do have an odd way of taking care of this on my own behalf with a barking dog. First of all, because if you call the police department about it, they say call animal control. They will not come over.
Okay, sir, can you just tell us how the animal disturbed you?
Well, yes, on Father's Day Sunday, the dogs, I was still in bed at 9:15 in the morning. The dog woke me up at 9:15. I went downstairs to fix a cup of coffee and to go sit outside on my back deck. The dog went on until 9:45, half an hour on a Sunday morning on Father's Day. So I did what I had to do. That's why we're here today.
What'd you do?
Well, you guys are going to think I'm crazy and nuts, as does Kelly. But since nobody could help me at the time of that, I bark like a bigger dog. And it brings attention to the owner. Third time with Kelly, we've been doing this. That's what I do.
Okay.
And then she called the police and they visited her house, not mine. They never came by to my house at all. And then I get a call from the sheriff saying you have a peace order.
Sir, can
I'm
you
getting tired of doing
describe,
this.
sir, can you describe the disturbance, please?
It was nonstop for half an hour, barking
Not
nonstop,
okay. Thank you.
nonstop.
And
Now
was this
we do have many dog owners in this neighborhood. Okay, I understand dogs bark. I get that. But she doesn't realize the disturbance part. So I'm very tolerant to barking dogs, but once you go beyond 15 minutes, I mean, I'm an outdoors guy. I've got a beautiful backyard. I enjoy being out there, but this takes the cake.
so was this the only time, or how frequently does this happen?
This is the third time I've been to first time I've been to animal control court. The second time I filled out the paperwork and we never had a hearing. I don't know why, but then she showed up yelling at me in front of my house for a half an hour, screaming at the front of my house after confronting me in my driveway. That was time number 2. Now we're on time number 3.
Sir, I just want to get a clarification, please.
Uh-huh.
Your complaint seems to be specific to Father's Day from 9:15 to 9:45.
This complaint, yes.
Have there been other times
Yes.
that you've been disturbed by the barking, and can you document those?
Well, like I say, the other 2 times, you guys already have court papers on that. The second time I filled out the court papers and never had a hearing. So I don't know what happened with that one. Now I'm
Sir,
on the
I think what she's asking, sir,
Yeah,
what she's asking you is, did the dog bark on other days? And if so, for how long? Were you woken up? Was it at odd hours? I mean, can you describe the incidents themselves?
Thank you.
Well, I mean, this goes back to
How about, sir, let's narrow it down to more recently.
well, recently it's Father's Day. That's it.
Okay.
After all this happened, I haven't heard peep one out of the dog,
Okay,
which is
thank you.
typical. Which is typical. But I guarantee you, in 4 months, you're going to get paperwork from me again.
But since the initial one that we're talking about
We're
today,
good.
there's
We're
not
good
been a
after-
problem. Okay.
Nope, not a one.
Okay, I noticed some videos in the file. Are any of those yours, Mr. Pelkey?
I doubt it. I don't take videos.
Okay, do you have any other evidence to present for your case today?
No evidence, but I can assure you if it didn't happen, we wouldn't be here.
Okay. Does any of the commission have any further questions for Mr. Pelkey?
Yeah, I mean, more of a comment, Mr. Pelkey. Certainly you executing these affidavits and submitting them to animal control certainly gives us a history that there's been something going on between you and Miss Bostic's dog. But for us to adjudicate, it makes the process of us adjudicating these affidavits cleaner and more effective if we have video or audio to go with them. That goes for dogs barking, animals running at large, excrement in public areas, pictures and videotapes. Picture is 1,000 words. That makes all the difference to us here, Mr. Pelkey. So regardless of how this ends up today, going forward, having some type of audio-visual evidence will only strengthen your case before the commission for us to make an adjudication that you're happy with.
Now, I'm glad to hear that because Miss Bostic said everything that went on was she recorded.
Okay.
Everything that happened that day, she recorded.
Then when it's Miss Bostic's turn, we'll see if she wants to enter that into evidence, and we'll proceed at that juncture. Sorry, Jennifer.
If not, then next time I know I'm going to get a recorder. I don't want to have to go through all this crap, but I guess I have to.
Sir, I would ask that But you need
Yes.
to remain respectful while you're here in this hearing, because we didn't do it to you, okay? We're trying to look at everything. All right, Ms. Bostic, would you like to tell us your side of things?
Yes, hi, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think my videos are evident enough to show that that particular day, the timing is on my videos. And my dogs, honestly, I also take videos. I have blink camera set up in my backyard for, I have a special needs dog that's deaf and blind. And then I have my other dog, both registered. And they bark, but I've been here in this home for 20 years and I've always had a dog. And not once have I ever had any problems or complaints with from any other neighbors. And we do have a lot of dogs in the neighborhood. But particularly my dogs, honestly, I video them while they're barking. So you can see my dogs do bark, but never would I ever want to disturb anyone, including Mr. Pelkey. We've been neighbors for 20 years. So if my dogs were a nuisance, I would want to know. But I know they're not because I'm home with them all the time. And I do keep a video camera in my backyard for numerous reasons.
I'm sorry, you've said you and Mr. Pelkey have been neighbors for 20 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And your dog, how old is the dog in question?
Well, Rose, it just turned 9.
And did the dog just recently start barking?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You said you had some videos that you wanted to show us?
I do. Autumn, Autumn was gonna display them for me on that particular date. I believe the time shows at like 9:39 is when it began. Around that time, on June 16th.
Give me 1 second. All right.
Just for confirmation, Autumn, that wasn't the one from Father's Day, but that was one that I did send you up to hear him barking at the dogs. Thank you.
Actually, I heard very little. Did anybody else hear anything on that video? Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just not hearing it. Well,
I heard what sounded like Ms. Bostic saying something to someone else, and I heard some other noise behind, but I don't know
This
what
is
it
the
was.
right one.
Jeff, are you okay? Jeff, are you okay? Do you need me to call the ambulance? Lori, is Jeff okay? Are you sure? Well, because you're barking like a dog, and it's, I think I'm going to call the ambulance. Are you, Lori, is he okay? Okay, I'll call the ambulance. Can you please stop barking at my dogs or whatever it is you're doing, because it's scaring me. Dogs bark, Jeff. Jeff, leave me alone. That's why they threw you out of the court, because you're psychotic.
Was there anything
Um,
else you wanted me to share, Ms. Bostic?
I mean, I think that I think that's enough. Thank you, Autumn.
all right, is there anything else that you would like to tell us, Miss Bostic?
Really, again, in all honesty, my dogs don't sit outside and bark. They're not big outside dogs. And I do have letters from a couple of my neighbors that live attached to me and in between me and Mr. Pelkey that I've lived next door to for 20 years. And they did write letters, statements that my dogs have never been a problem. And I do want to add one more thing because it does, my anxiety it's been a little awkward. But we have a dog 2 doors down that's constantly outside barking and barking and barking. So I'm not really sure what it is with my dogs, but if you need other videos, I have tons of Blink videos of my dogs outside with kids on the playground because my yard faces a tot lot with a lot of, action. And I've got numerous videos of my dogs not barking, not disturbing, and some of them barking for a couple minutes. And then I go out and make sure they're not, I just don't have, there's no disturbances or they're not being a nuisance in any way. I wouldn't allow that.
Okay, thank you, Miss Bostic. Do any commission members have any questions for Miss Bostic? Jackie?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Bostic, what is your dog's normal daily schedule? Like, how often do they go out, stay out in their yard, come back
They
in?
They go out in the morning, after they wake up, and then they come in, they eat. They're kind of lazy, and to be honest with you, they don't like to be outside without me. So that makes it a little difficult sometimes because I have to go out with them most of the time. But they go out. They like to lay in the sun. And we, take small walks. I'm not a big walker right now for certain medical reasons, but other than that, they're just pretty laid back. They're snuggly dogs. They're just cuddle bugs and they're spoiled.
Thank you. And how about when you are not at home? Are they left out in the yard or are they in the house when you're not home?
Oh no, they're always inside. And actually, even my 20-year-old son lives with me, and dogs don't go outside when I'm not home.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Hemmer, you had a question?
Yeah. So the last video that we just saw before you and Mr. Pelkey engaged in a conversation, that was on Father's Day, and you were only able to record maybe 10 minutes of the 30 minutes Mr. Pelkey's alleging the dog was barking. Is that a correct understanding?
The correct understanding is on that. As soon as I hung up with the video, I did call the police, and the police did come out. So it's impossible that there was 30 minutes of barking. I can prove that with my other Blink videos that I have out front, where you can see the timing of where the officers came out.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't barking, after I got that video of him and I came inside and my dog came inside. So whenever that video ended is when it stopped because my dog was brought inside.
Okay.
I raised my right hand to not perjure myself. I'm being honest.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Bostic? Mr. Pelkey, as the complainant, is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, other than I'll probably see you again in about 4 months.
All right, thank you, sir. Seeing nothing else, I think we should close for deliberations.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh wait, I think Ms. Bostic, did you have a question?
I was changing her role. Sorry.
That's okay. All right, we still have Mr. Pelkey on here with us.
It looks like we lost.
And we've lost Dr. Hemmer. There we go.
Not sure what happened there, team. Sorry.
That's all right. Jackie, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, well, I think starting after our first two cases, this was a little more lighthearted. I would venture to say that we not uphold the citation because number one, Mr. Pelkey didn't offer any evidence. And in the video that Ms. Bostic did show, we can hear Mr. Pelkey barking at the dogs, which he said that he does do. And that's going to instigate the dogs to continue to bark. So I'm more inclined to say that he's more the cause of the disturbance. And he said
Nicole?
himself
Oh,
that
I'm sorry,
there's
Jen.
not, yeah, he said himself that there's not been any other issues since then. I'm done. Thank you.
Nicole?
And due to the lack of evidence provided by Mr. Pelkey, I would vote to dismiss citation.
All right. Tom?
Yep, I totally agree with everybody. Unfortunately, sounds like we're gonna be back here in 4 months though, so.
Dr. Hemmer?
Yeah, I concur with everybody. I agree with Tom's sentiment. We'll probably see them again, and hopefully Mr. Pelkey will bring more convincing evidence with him, and we can move forward at that time.
Yeah. Sergeant Daughters? Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry. Or no, you're not muted. I just didn't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Okay, I think she's saying she's good with what everybody else has said, so I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion that we dismiss citation ending in 1393.
I second.
All in favor? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Certain Daughters, are you logged on twice by chance?
It looks like it.
Is it on the same computer or a different location? Because if it's a different location that you're signed on to.
Yeah, I had to switch to my other camera. So I have my audio on my phone and my camera on my computer. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Now we can hear you great.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry about that.
All right. Now, do we still have one more case, correct?
It's one more case. It's 4 different citations, but it's all for the same case.
Okay, I'm seeing 5 on the. Did one of them get dismissed?
No, let me see. 1, 2. No, it's still 5. I apologize for 5 of them.
Okay, and then just for clarification, the other case, the Payne versus Doris, that's not being heard today.
No, that one when I sent up the updated agenda, that one came off. She assumed guilt on Friday.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see any. I must have missed the other agenda. Sorry. All right. So let's. Is everybody okay with just going right through and doing this last case? All right.
You are a participant in the Styles versus Thompson. Please use the raise hand function. Right. Once they both have their cameras on. Right. You get your camera. There we go. All right, so you could both raise your right hand for me and keep it up. All right, do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ms. Stiles, could you please state your full name and address for the record?
Kelly Stiles, 516 Wood Duck Lane, Annapolis, Maryland, 21409.
And then, your last name is Rude?
Yes.
It's not Thompson.
No.
I apologize. Could you state your full name for the record?
It's Johanna Rude.
And your address?
My address 646 Snow Goose Lane, Annapolis 21409.
I will pass it over to the chairman.
Okay, just to make sure though, so there's no Joanna Thompson, correct?
Joanna Thompson is Joanna Rude. So
All
I will
right,
make that correction.
perfect. Ms. Stiles, would you like to begin and tell us what brought you here today?
On Friday, May 3rd, I was walking my puppies in our common area. And our houses are about 300, 400 yards apart. As I was walking in the common area of our neighborhood, I looked back. That's the map there. So, okay, so as I was walking back towards my house, there was a young girl, like probably between, I don't know, 15 and 18. And she was on the front yard of 646 Snow Goose Lane. And she let out a small puppy. Initially, the puppy stayed within the front yard. But once the puppy saw me and my dogs, it ran towards us. At the same time, the door to the residence was open. This is when a larger, older, seemingly pit bull rapidly ran towards me and my dogs. I stepped in between the dog and my dog, and then the pit bull bit me just above my knee. So I was bit. I was like disoriented. I didn't know what happened. I was surprised at what happened. I looked at the younger girl, told her, this is the problem. Your dog bit me. This is a big problem. And I think I recall her kind of moving towards the larger dog in an attempt to get it under control. I assume she was able to get the animal under control and returned it to the resident, but I'm not really sure what happened at that point. I turned my back and took my two dogs back towards my residence. And the puppy followed me for probably 30, 40 feet. The young girl then appeared again to get the puppy, calling to it as I was walking away. Once I got home, I don't know how far you want me to go. I called 911. My husband was out of town that morning. And I ended up taking the ambulance to the hospital and received medical care at Arundel Medical Center, as well as Maryland Eastern Shore for treatment for rabies. There was a lot of vague information that was given at the hospital about what would happen with animal control. And unfortunately, the nurse practitioner at the hospital told me, like, I would know the status of the animal that day. Like, don't worry about it. Animal control will get out and they will come out and they will tell you everything that's happening. Miss Rude and I don't know each other. And given everything that was happening, like, I wasn't comfortable going over to their home and asking them about the animal. So I'm still undergoing treatment. There's still remaining issues about the bite. And that's probably what I can say, what happened.
Okay, Ms. Stiles, was Ms. Rude present when this happened? You said it was a young girl who let the dog out?
No, ma'am,
Ms.
she
Rude
was not there.
So you said you ended up having to get rabies treatment. You got rabies shots because of this. Did animal control were they not able to locate the dogs and find the dogs before you started post-exposure?
what had happened related to that is that the nurse practitioner at AAMC that saw me, we live in a very wooded area with lots of raccoons and foxes and bats and different things. And the nurse practitioner at AAMC had told me, don't worry about it. Animal control will call you very same day. Like, you will know the vaccination of the animal by the end of day. I did call back animal control, I think around like 2:30 or something, or maybe even like 3:15. It was after like they had closed for the day, and they were like, oh no, you won't hear anything today. So from there, I started getting information from either my primary care, or I think I called patient first to try to get an understanding. I was very unaware of what the process would be, and no one had explained it to me. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to think about it, I work for the United States Department of Agriculture, and one of our main programs is rabies management. So I see what happens when that's not treated or whatever. I mean, like, we do the animal control, we do the animal vaccination process over the East Coast. I was really, really anxious about when I would hear from animal control, not understanding when I would hear from them, what would happen, all of those things. I didn't understand the window of time and why that 10 days was important. I don't even think I heard from the health department until like the following Thursday. So I didn't understand all of the medical aspects of it. And so just out of like extreme caution and to deal with my anxiety of the situation, it was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, if you don't know, then like you do what you need to do. So that's what we did.
No, I get all that. I just want to find out when and if animal control did get involved in this situation at all. I mean, it sounds like that's kind of what I wanted to nail down. It sounds like you didn't get an immediate response that day. Did someone follow up with you the following day from animal control? Were they aware of the
No.
situation?
The hospital called. It was my understanding that the hospital called animal control. I emailed out to, she was here earlier, Officer Farmer. I have emails with her from Tuesday, May 7th. She reached out to me on Monday the 6th. And I was trying to figure out like what the next steps were, what was going to happen specifically with you all, where the animals were going to be, and all of those situations. So I heard from animal control, I guess, on Monday. That would have been the 6th. And then proceeded to email back and forth with Officer Farmer until the point that I was trying to get additional information about the animal. And I had to do that via, she indicated to me, let's see, on May 15th, I asked if there was any additional information that she could provide. And she said I had to get it all through a PIA notice, Public Information Act, I guess.
I'm sorry, who told you that?
Allison Fromer.
Okay. I thought I saw in the record that someone and maybe I misread it, but didn't you eventually find out that the dog was not vaccinated?
That is correct.
Who gave you that information and when?
That was only available from the Public Information Act notice, and it was very hang on. Trying to see when I have it here. I believe it was from, hang on. The Public Information Act information was received on Thursday, May 16th. And in this information, it included the health card from Anne Arundel County Animal Control, which is what indicated that the dog was not rabies vaccinated. So I guess the health card was health check due date was May 13th. I don't know how to read these documents.
That's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you dig through all that because we do have it. I can look it up if I need to.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, Ms. Stiles?
Also in the files I submitted is a notification from our homeowners association. Given our covenants, I guess residents are allowed to make nuisance claims or whatever you want to say to the HOA, and there's a letter in there that Victory Management and the board of directors had decided to ban both dogs due to leashing issues, as well as, of course, this bite.
To your knowledge, have they followed through that? Are both dogs still living in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I have not seen the animals since the HOA notified me that that was their determination. I also do, on most occasions, don't walk my dogs down that area any longer.
Why?
Okay. Now I saw when we had the map pulled up earlier, there were also some photographs along with it that you shared. Was there any other evidence that you had submitted to animal control?
No, that's it.
Okay, I guess I'm sorry. I must not have heard the response to that. Any commission members have any additional Jackie, do you have questions?
Ms. Stiles, how was your leg?
There's still aspects of it that are still numb. I've been to through orthopedic care to try to figure out, and I have a follow-up appointment in about 2 weeks with a nerve specialist at the same orthopedic office. It was swollen for a pretty long time, and it still was like burning, and you know, I'm hopeful of healing. I'm not a medical professional. I don't know what's going on. So.
Thank you. I hope it gets better.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Stiles? Okay, Ms. Rude, would you like to tell us your side of the case?
Yes. So I actually wasn't out there. My daughter was out there, who's 12, not 15 or 18. And I will say that the puppy that we had, we did used to take her out without a leash. And I did learn a lot from this incident, having to do with that type of thing. Like, I didn't know that we could actually get in trouble for having a little puppy off leash. Since the incident, though, we hadn't had her off leash. This incident was the only incident that our bigger dog was off leash, and it was purely an accident. The door didn't latch, when my daughter closed it behind her and she didn't know that it wasn't closed. It wasn't her fault. Like, it was purely an accident. So when the door closed, it kind of like bounced back, but my daughter's back was already turned, so she didn't know that the door had come open. So when the door opened, or like when my dog could get out, any dog's gonna get out of a door. Like, most dogs are gonna get out and run around. My daughter said, she's right here. I mean, you can talk to her. I mean, the incident, my dog wasn't being aggressive. She wasn't chasing her. In the citation, Miss Stiles says that my dog chased her aggressively. There was no chase. Like, my daughter had my dog back in the house within seconds. My camera footage shows that the dog was out and the dog came back in within the minute. Within seconds, my daughter had her back in the house. Now, if pit bulls are my kids know the repercussions of pit bulls. Pit bulls are very good dogs if they're raised correctly. In an aggressive situation, if she would have bit Miss Stiles the way that she's claiming to be bit, my daughter wouldn't have been able to get my dog off of her. Like, we all know how pit bulls bite. They don't let go. They don't bite and let go. So I don't know what happened, okay, because I wasn't there. My daughter claims that there was no bite.
You said you have video footage of the incident?
I don't have video footage of the incident, unfortunately. I have video footage of my dog's out. I have video footage of my dog getting out of the house and coming back in the house. That's all I have footage of. I don't have anything else. So right there, you hear the door not close all the way. But my daughter didn't realize that it wasn't closed all the way. But within seconds, so the timestamp 7:16, and then she comes back in 7:16. My 12-year-old daughter is carrying her back in the house.
I'm sorry, tell me those timestamps again.
7:16.
I didn't see them on the video.
Should be a photo. Did I send that to you? I thought there was a photo. I think I sent a photo of the timestamps of the videos. If not, I have those too.
Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to find it on the video.
Hey, Autumn, I don't know if you can answer the question or not, but I'm sure a couple of us have been thinking this. With a bite this severe, did animal control do any investigation into this whatsoever? I mean, I was trying to get to that, asking Ms. Stiles, but I mean, it sounds like there was a kind of a prolonged response initially. Was there ever any investigation done by animal control about this case?
On this particular case, I'm not 100% aware. I have to go pull the file real quick just to see what was done. I was only aware of the affidavits of complaint because those get submitted to me and then I process them.
Okay.
So I can I can go check to see what the file, see what was done.
It just seems like a lot of the facts in this case would usually be something we would see under a potentially dangerous or dangerous order, not something we would see in an affidavit type case. I'm somewhat concerned to that effect. But I mean, if there was any investigation done and there was reasons why it wasn't, it would be nice to know why that was.
Let me go grab that.
Sir, in the
I agree. I agree with you,
exposure,
Tom, because go ahead. I'm sorry. Who's speaking? Oh.
In the exposure report, it says that on May 6th, something was posted at the property, and then on May 7th, in the officer's report, it says I spoke with Joanna Thompson and placed Lady on a 10-day home quarantine. I would like to clarify that the timestamp on this, I called 911 and was back in my house at 7:16. So for her to be back in her house at 7:20, like, okay, but like
It was
I
7:16.
I'm a little confused, like Tom, because I mean, but once, even with the affidavit, once there was an affidavit of biting a person, wouldn't that have triggered?
Yeah, so it's actually a part of the PDF and the evidence. I'm going to share it with you. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm going to share my screen. So it looks like Officer Farmer put the dogs on a 10-day home quarantine.
And that
So
was because the animal's vaccination status couldn't be determined at the time?
I'm not sure.
So the
Based on
10-day
her note-
quarantine, generally speaking, is done because if an animal was currently exhibiting the signs of rabies or was currently rabid, that animal would be dead within 10 days if
10
it had
days,
rabies.
yeah.
So that's why the 10-day quarantine initially. That's why they do that, because if the animal, not knowing an animal status, if the animal dies within 10 days of the bite, you would assume that potentially that cause of that death was rabies. That's what a 10-day quarantine is used for, generally speaking. But it sounds like I guess the question that I have is if that's all it was done as a 10-day quarantine on the animal based on the bite, but I mean it just sounds like there wasn't much follow-up with the person that was bitten about the severity of the bite and the circumstances regarding the bite, and that's where I was. It sounds like based on what's being presented that usually we animal control would have been more involved, but if they weren't, they weren't. I just was confused to that effect.
all they told me is that they couldn't, they weren't there. There was nothing that they could do. And the only thing that I could do was file these affidavits and get them notarized and send them in.
I will say I was just made aware of the pictures. I didn't have any pictures of the injury until late last week. So and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying I didn't know the severity of the bite myself personally until I got that evidence late last week. And I'm
So is there going to be an animal control investigation going forward after this, and we're going to deal with this as either a PDO or a DO at some point in the
I don't
future?
think she has the dogs anymore.
I don't
Okay.
have the dogs.
Oh, okay. Moot point then. All right.
Well, it's not necessarily a moot point, because if the dogs were to come back, if she moved into another place in Anne Arundel County and could get the dogs back, there's other reasons why we could. But to Ms. Root, to your point, to your case, it sounds to me like in your testimony that you're saying that there is maybe not substantial, there's potential that your dog did not do any of the biting. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, or that it wasn't as severe as she's claiming, because I mean, I don't understand how, if this occurred and my daughter's out there the whole time, didn't see anything, but you calmly say to my daughter that your dog bit me, this is a problem, your dog bit me, very calmly, like very like she's gonna cause problems for this, which and honestly, like if my dog hurts somebody, like I don't want my dog to hurt anybody, you know what I'm saying? But it has to be real. And this is the conversation that I had with Miss Fromer, and I even asked her the same thing that you're asking, like, where's the investigation? Like, are you gonna come check my dog? Are you gonna come measure the bite? Like, where's the investigation? Why isn't this on both sides? Like, why isn't this being taken more seriously? Because now I don't have my dog. Now I don't have my other dog who literally did nothing, that was not a threat. I have, like, and my other dog was just, she's got like this bad rap now. I don't even know where she is because I had to give her away. It's turned into a huge
So those dogs
colossus
could
mess.
give them away to who? Those dogs could still reside in Anne Arundel County, I'm guessing. Who did you give the dogs to?
Well, the one lady, the one who actually allegedly bit Miss Styles, is not in Anne Arundel County. I actually had to give her back to who we got her from in the beginning because I had nobody else to give her to. And the other one is currently with my child.
An
And
adult
whose
child,
dog
I'm
is
assuming.
that?
Can I respond to Miss Rude?
One second, Miss Styles, real quickly. Can you tell me the type of dog that you were walking at the time and the size of the dog you were walking at the time?
So I was walking my two dogs. They are both English cream retrievers. So they're the Snow White golden retrievers.
Okay.
The Elsa is 8 years old,
Okay.
and Samson is a year old. Samson, we are a guardian for him with a local breeder. So he is an intact male. And also we have a contract with that breeder that should something happen to him that we're financially liable. And it was, I put my knee in front of Sam's face. Okay, like I remember like, oh, whoa, like I'm gonna protect my animal here. Miss Rude, to your point, I understand that your daughter is young. I don't understand her exact age. I don't know your family. I'm not a chaotic type of person, and it is super sad to me that this happened in front of your daughter. I had the presence of mind in that moment to try not to yell at her or create any more chaos in the situation. And I literally have told my friends, by the grace of God, it was literally, I just said to her, what you just said, your dog bit me, like this is a problem, like this is going to be a big problem. And then I walked away. There was no need for me to scream. I was in shock. I didn't know what was going on. I got back to my house and I remember texting my best friend and I was like, holy crap, a dog just bit me. Like, I don't even know what to do. I don't understand how Ring cameras work, but it seems like that was one side of the video and perhaps not the other. And I understand from our HOA hearing, I believe the other residents at your home is John Thompson, and he indicated that there is some video somewhere with me like hobbling. So I'm sorry, you asked how big my dogs were. They are approximately, the Elsa is 80 pounds and Sam is probably about 60. And they were both on leash and vaccinated and under my control.
Jackie, you've been waiting patiently with your hand raised, and I'm
That's
sorry
all right.
you had
It's
questions.
It's important for them to all speak. I have a couple questions for Miss Rude, please. And Miss Rude, I understand this is a very traumatic, emotionally trying situation for everybody. But I want to go back and clarify a couple of things of whether or not your dogs were vaccinated against rabies.
At the time, no, they were not.
And can you explain to us why?
Well, we were about to get them all situated. I was trying to find a vet. I was trying to find a good vet in the area. I have now, but
And how old is the puppy?
the little one is, what is she, like 7 months now?
Okay, and then the other dog, how old is she?
She's about a year now.
Okay, and if I understood correctly, that you no longer have the dogs there at your home?
No, I do not.
Okay, and was that by your choice, or did your HOA tell you that you could no longer have them there, or another reason?
HOA.
Okay, and so can you tell us specifically, please, where each one of the dogs are now?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know where Lady is. I haven't been in contact with the owner. We had to give her back to the guy that we got her from.
And what
So,
county is he in?
I believe he's in PG County,
Okay,
but I'm
thank
not
you.
sure where, I don't know. DC
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, and then where's the puppy now?
She's with my son and she's still in the county.
Okay, and your son lives elsewhere than in your home?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And has your puppy been vaccinated now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, that's all.
Anyone else have any questions for either party? Okay, Ms.
I just,
Stiles, since you are the complaint, go ahead.
I also want to point out, I did submit medical documentation from AAMC as well as Eastern Shore. I do have phone records that I called animal control while I was waiting in the ER. And I asked them what the process was to file whatever needed to be filed. Whoever it was that answered the phone that Friday morning, they let me know that the hospital would take care of it in making the call. I assume that the nurse did that because she came back and she asked me my home residence information. And as a result of that, I think the bite and exposure report is what started. I don't know if that's helpful to you all or not, but I did call, once I was waiting in the ER to be seen to try to figure out that process. I don't know if you guys have access to the 911 calls. My attorney is in the process of trying to get access to those.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Ms. Stiles.
And
Any further
also,
questions?
as far as a part of what was going on, not understanding what animal control was going to do or the police department, we sent personal letters to the residences at 646 and also to a woman named Tara. I can't think of her last name. She's the homeowner, and she resides out in Eastern Maryland. So we notified them ourselves and got no response. So we did due diligence to try to at least maintain some distance while still getting information.
Thank you, Ms. Stiles. Anything else from either parties or commission members? All right, seeing nothing, I'm going to suggest we move into deliberations. All right, dog bite case, I don't know. My personal inclination is always to start with the doctor. Dr. Hemmer.
Thank you. So I think you and Tom had a good observation. How come this is coming across as citations and not as like a dangerous order or a potentially dangerous order, given the severity of the bite, at least by the pictures that I saw. So I think that's a good comment. But looking at the 5 citations that we have before us, I feel comfortable in upholding 1006 inflicts severe injury and upholding 1009 bites a person. I think that evidence is obvious. I'm inclined to hold up 1005 because with the ring video of the dogs, running out of the house, I think that's good enough for me to uphold that. To be honest with you, where I'm having the rub with the citations is with 1007 and 1008. I'm not quite sure why we have two citations of dogs running at large, unless one is for lady and one is for the puppy. That's the only thing that I could think of. But I would
Dr.
uphold
Hammer,
at
they're
least
different
one of those.
citations. They're different. One
Yeah.
is for approaching a domesticated animal in an aggressive manner, and the other one is for approaching a person in an aggressive manner.
My bad. Thank you for that clarification. Then I would uphold them all based on that. That would be my recommendation.
Right. Nicole?
I absolutely agree. And it's unfortunate that Ms. Rude doesn't have the dogs anymore, but I did find her dismissive and unaccountable behavior a little rubbing me the wrong way. But yes, I vote to uphold all citations.
Jackie?
Yes, I am the same way as Nicole is. I found that Ms. Rude, there's no remorse. She doesn't even accept responsibility for what happened. I am concerned about what may have been a lack of service and follow-up from the county on this case. I find it appalling that Ms. Stiles had to go through all that she did and not be advised as to the dog's vaccination status. I would think that would be normal procedure. I think we should definitely uphold all the citations, and if possible, animal control should follow up to see where the dogs are now, and particularly if one is still in the county, that it is vaccinated, licensed, and properly cared for. And I don't know if the other one is out of the county, advise that county animal control the situation so that they don't get put in a position like this.
Agreed. Sergeant Daughters?
I agree to uphold all of the citations.
And Tom?
Yeah, I agree. We should uphold all the citations. This happens from time to time where we see a case where, it seems to fit the mold of a dangerous, potentially dangerous order, and who knows why it doesn't get investigated. Maybe there's a lot of different reasons why. But as far as the vaccine status of the animal, I mean, it happened on a Friday, and they followed up on Monday to some extent with the exposure report. I know our nursing staff would have followed up shortly after that, but yeah, I mean, who knows why those things happen? Hopefully in the future it doesn't, and we can make sure that cases like this get the proper scrutiny anyway. So yeah, I would vote to uphold.
Just for my own personal information though, even if it was normal procedure for them to follow up on a Monday with an incident that occurred on a Friday, isn't the victim's window though to begin treatment 48 hours or less?
Yeah, I mean, generally it would be as soon as possible. I mean, they would say it's an urgency, not an emergency per se. I mean, they'd want to start it as soon as possible, especially if the bite was closer to the face or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't know what protocol is. I would say that if the bite occurred on sometime on a Friday, and they're investigating it as just a standard bite, maybe it doesn't take till Monday before they figure it all out. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for what animal control does. I just think that
I meant from a medical perspective. Isn't there only a short time window before a human can begin treatment before?
No, so rabies symptoms may not start it could take up to 4 months for actual symptoms to begin. So you want to try to start post exposure as soon as possible, but not necessarily within 48 hours. I mean, you can be exposed on a lower extremity or something like that, and it could take months before it would travel far enough to actually start with the symptoms of rabies and shedding virus. So therefore, if you got treatment prior to that, you could potentially intercede, but ideally as soon as possible, right? So, people may think a week later, well, I got bit by that stray cat a week ago. Maybe I ought to look into something, and they'll contact their health department and say, hey, maybe we should be back, or, going forward with post-exposure at that point. So it's not a hard and fast rule. Obviously, the sooner the better. In a situation with a dog bite where there's unknowns, sometimes waiting a few days is better. The 10-day, with the animal in a 10-day quarantine, if you have the animal that you can observe for 10 days, you might want to wait 10 days before you started post-exposure. So, it's a costly, post-exposure is not cheap. It can cost $4,000 to $10,000 for a series, and some people can't afford that. So to have people put out that expense when you have the animal to view and see if it's going to be alive, that really benefits, changes the way you look at things, I think.
Oh, thanks, Tom. I had no idea it was that expensive. Jackie?
Tom and Autumn, what is the county protocol for advising the victim of a bite as to the dog's vaccination status?
The health department, from my understanding, is the one that's supposed to provide the vaccination status to the victim.
So I'm not sure how we have an epidemiological nursing staff that follows up on all bite reports. So Animal Care and Control creates a report. That report is sent to our nursing staff. They triage the situation. They call the people in the report. They find out what's going on. They try to find that, and I guess we would do work in hand with Animal Control to, we don't have people that run around and find the animals. So that's where Animal Control comes in to find the animals. And once we have a status, then I do believe is our staff that does generally reach out with recommendations for post-exposure and things like that. Sometimes people do get antsy and they don't understand the process, and they will report to the ER. And depending on who's attending that, the ER that day, you may or may not, you might not get exactly the same answer, but generally speaking, some doctors may be more apt to want to hurry up and give you post-exposure, and others may say, let's wait and see what the health department has to say. But we do have multiple nurses on staff that triage these things every day, from dog bites to bat bites to just bad exposures that may not even be bites. And it's a lot of nuance that goes into that. So that's what I can say about the health department's aspects of it anyway.
Thank you.
So, and Ms. Stiles said that the health department contacted her the following Thursday. So if what you're saying is the health department usually reaches out after they been contacted by Animal Control, that says that there was a report somewhere that Animal Control
potentially they were waiting on vaccine status. Who knows? Like I said, if Animal Control, it sounded like, I thought she said that initially that they had posted the property maybe, and that maybe the property, maybe they didn't make contact initially on that Monday. So if they couldn't make initial contact, it could have been a couple days later before they made contact and were able to get there's a lot of different things that can come in and out of that. So it's not always cut and dry how quickly that can happen. But to somebody who's just been bitten and doesn't know and is scared, again, their first inkling a lot of times is let's get the shots. And sometimes that's warranted, sometimes it's not. So.
Understood.
It's very tricky.
All right.
With a domestic dog, it's usually the dog's available to quarantine and see, so you can follow up with that animal. Versus wildlife that raccoon bites you and runs off in the woods, you don't have that animal to sit there, so then you would take a different tact.
Yeah, Tom's right on everything he's saying. Tom's right.
Animal Control or the officers usually take the dog for the quarantine?
Not
usually quarantined in the home.
They can be quarantined in the home. It depends. It depends on the situation. They can be quarantined in the home, but basically, if the animal's available for Animal Control to follow up with, I think she had mentioned a 10-day, like a health check. If basically, the animal's put on quarantine at the house and is told, do not let this animal around other people, or basically, if there's people in the home, people come in and out, keep track of who's in and out of the house with you. And then if after 10 days, Animal Control shows up and the animal's still alive, the animal didn't have, was not shedding virus at that point. It was not, showing the signs of rabies. So therefore, it didn't have rabies, or it wasn't exhibiting the signs of rabies when it initiated the bite. Therefore, it should not have spread rabies. But again, that window can be a little tricky sometimes. That 10-day window can be a little tricky. Sometimes you might want to pad a few days here or there on it. It's not all super cut and dry.
I'm sorry, I didn't think about this earlier. With the dogs having been given away.
Amber, to the front counter, please. Thank you.
With the dogs having been given away, Autumn, was the quarantine completed and the dogs checked at the end of quarantine?
So based off of what I was reading in the file, is that after the quarantine and simultaneously they had gotten the letter from the HOA that the dogs couldn't stay. So she had to get rid of the dogs anyway. But they did complete the 10-day, and when the bite report was closed out, that meant that somebody went out there and made sure everything did the health check. Yeah.
Right,
So,
thank you.
so there can be a I know it seems kind of strange that maybe the animal will be allowed to be quarantined at home. A more strict quarantine would be required if the animal was exposed to an obvious rabid animal. Let's say you had a positive rabid raccoon that exposed that dog that was unvaccinated. That unvaccinated dog would have to be under a strict, it's like a 4-month strict quarantine, basically double enclosure, only one person attending to that animal to see if that animal develops rabies. That would be the only way, short of, and generally speaking, euthanasia is usually recommended in that case, because the pet, it's kind of cruel to keep a dog in a double enclosed cage for 4 months just to keep it alive. A lot of times what happens to puppies and things like that are not of age to be vaccinated, if they become exposed to rabies, it's kind of a tough thing where sometimes they need to be, you can't have a puppy in a cage for 4 months essentially and not, it loses a lot in that development. So just to be clear, it's not always that they can quarantine at home, but it does seem kind of strange when you first hear it that it can be done.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that's where I was
guess
confused. I thought home quarantines were only for animals that had bites of unknown origin. I thought if the animal bit a human, the quarantine had to be done at animal control. So I'm glad to get that clarification for any cases going forward. Yes, Dr. Hemmer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess it may be beyond the scope of this morning's discussion, but when I'm looking at the quarantine release card, it's been my experience that if they don't have a rabies, animal control almost always gives them a rabies vaccine and then kicks them out the door with the release. And it says on the card here that they'll take for a rabies shot. So did that dog even get vaccinated for rabies, or just kicked out and that was it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she said that the owner said that the dog was vaccinated, or at least the younger dog was vaccinated anyway, I thought. But
yeah. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, regardless, we still need to vote. So
yeah.
we all seem to be in agreement. I'm going to make a motion that we uphold all the citations.
I second.
All in favor? All right. And then that was our last case for today, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so we need to vote on the minutes from June. Did everyone have a chance to look over them? Anyone have any questions or last minute corrections?
I make a motion we accept the June minutes as published by Animal Care and Control.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. The only other just real quick, Jackie had reached out to me this past month because of something she had read in the news about the county executive coming to an animal welfare commission meeting and speaking about plans for future changes in animal control. I just wanted to put it on the record that Jackie had reached out to me about that. She reached out to me because this news article mentioned that I had been invited to that meeting, and the Animal Welfare Council had invited me to that meeting on July 10th. I did attend. Unfortunately, I don't really have a whole lot to report to everyone here because most of what I heard was speculative. That they're thinking about, maybe researching into animal control becoming a quasi-independent agency similar to Economic Development Corporation. I know that there was some talk of, looking at best practices from other jurisdictions. At that point, they had not hired a new administrator for animal control, so they were looking into that. But I really didn't get any detailed information out of that discussion or any firm plans. I did ask how the county executive anticipated those changes might impact the Animal Matters Commission. And I did not get a clear answer to that. So I just wanted to let you all know, since a fellow commission member did come to me questioning that after reading it in the news.
Thank you, Jennifer. It wasn't in the news. It was in Stewart, our county executive's weekly
Oh, that's right, his
that
newsletter.
he
That's
sent
correct.
out. Yeah. And there's an article in that. And he mentioned you were mentioned, but it also mentioned the Animal Matters Commission directly. And that's what raised my question, because to my knowledge, we hadn't been talked to. So just something to keep an eye out, and I'm sure Autumn will keep us apprised of any developments that we should know about.
Well, if there
Just
are
to
any
clar-
developments, it'll
As you
actually be-
can.
It will actually be our administrator, Claudia Roll, who will be able to update you with the updates coming from the top down.
Yeah. So when does she start?
She started last week on Monday, but she had a planned vacation, so that's why she wasn't here today. She will be back next week.
Great. We'll look forward to meeting her next year or next month. Thank you.
Just to clarify too, I believe that newsletter, I think it kind of implied or gave the appearance that that I spoke at that meeting. I mean, I asked that one question, but I did not give any kind of speech or any kind of position from animal control. I just asked that singular question, and that was all.
And I did request the recording and
I have
haven't
it.
gotten one.
I have the
The
recording.
minutes were posted, but they really don't give any information at all. So, but you know, if there's
Oh,
something,
I send it to you.
thank you.
Of course.
Jennifer, good job today.
Yep, good job.
Yep.
I think you did
Thanks.
wonderful.
I'm
Really
I
good
mean,
job.
you did. It was flawless. Thank you. Good job.
I
And I think
appreciate
really
that.
good
Thank you
job.
from the Buffalo.
Yeah,
Very hard.
really
to keep
good
people on
job of
point
everybody.
sometimes.
This
Really
was a
good job.
tough day.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a long day, but I mean, we actually finished quicker than I expected. So,
Yep.
glad to not tie everyone up for the day. So, Autumn, is there anything I'm missing or anything else we need to cover?
Are we
Got it
short
all
a
done.
commission member?
We are. We still have to replace Ed. I haven't gotten a response back
Okay.
for the recommendation, so I'll probably have to have Claudia reach out
Okay.
to figure out how we can make that process a little bit faster.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I think that's it for today.
Thank you.
Make a motion. We close the session.
One second.
Yep. All in favor?
See y'all next month.
Have a great month, everybody.
You all
Take
too.
care.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.